Good evening. I'd like to call the Tuesday, January 16th, 2018 City of Oldsmar City Council meeting to order. If you'll please rise for our invocation and our pledge. It will be led by our City Attorney, Mr. Tom Trask.
Our Heavenly Father, we seek blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. We pray that our work this evening will find favor in your sight. This we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and once again, welcome. A little housekeeping. If you have the agenda for tonight's meeting, item 1 under the Community Redevelopment Agency will become item number 13A under the City Attorney. All the other items will remain the same number. Having said that, the Citizens Open Forum, we only have a couple of rules that you keep it to no more than 5 minutes. You state your name and address for the record, and you can talk towards anything that is on tonight's agenda. However, if it is a public hearing, which is the 13A I just mentioned, also item 13 and 14, those are public hearings, and so if you want to address those items, we ask that you wait until we get to those items, and I'll call you for the public hearing portion. Having said that, let's start with the right side of the room. Does anybody wish to address the council? That's me.
Somebody does, but not there.
Oh, I almost went to the next side of the room.
Good evening, Mayor Beavis, Council. Susan Oliver, 302 Washington Avenue in Oldsmar. The post office is still not sure if it's street or avenue, just so you know.
Talk to the guy in the back.
Sorry. The reason I'm here, first of all, I know you've been busy with the BMX race. It's really exciting, the things that are going on in Oldsmar. Very proud to be a part of it. The library just celebrated their 10-year anniversary of the new building, and I am celebrating my 10-year anniversary as a resident. And I'm very proud to be a part of everything here.
Awesome.
What I would like to mention, though, is that I have probably talked to several of you just offline, privately, just kind of poking around about some buildings and things that are going on in Oldsmar right now. And I've read the code pretty carefully, I think. I have some concerns that stem from a house being built behind me, and I actually came to the council about that and some neighbor issues that were going on. And I see where there's some things that could be percolating that could end up being not good for our town if we don't possibly revisit the code and make sure that as we're building these new constructions, the people that are existing in the areas around them aren't having things taken away from them in terms of privacy, in terms of property value. When you have a quaint little backyard and then suddenly you have a second-story deck built overlooking your quaint little backyard, it definitely devalues your property. There are some things that can be done. I had a very productive meeting with the zoning group, and I know that there are some grants that Oldsmar has set up for these kinds of issues as they arise now. I also was informed that every new construction will be these elevated properties. And since we do have so many, due to flood zone zoning laws, so we do have so many existing homes that are these quaint cottage type homes. And I just wanted to come before the council, let you know that my issue has been resolved. I appreciate all of your listening, but I really would like our code to be looked at again and see if maybe we can look at what some other places are doing in terms of the privacy of an existing resident with new home construction.
Okay.
Thank you.
I assume you've talked to the people that make some of those decisions, I guess, or?
Yes, and I believe that our attorney would have to look over that.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side of the room? Anybody on this side of the room? No. Seeing no one, will close the Citizens Open Forum. A little quick mayor's minute, a couple of recaps. The free tree recycling is, do we know, is it over? Do we know? Yeah. It's over? Okay. The recap, the free service to the residents, if you're not aware, down at RE Olds Park, you can drop off your Christmas trees. Keep that in mind for next year. Public Works processed over 300 Christmas trees. The trees were ground down to mulch for the city landscaping. We just finished the BMX Florida Cup Series at the Oldsmar BMX track. That was last Friday through Sunday. 397 riders on Saturday and 390 riders on Sunday from throughout the state of Florida. We hope that to make that an annual event, not to be, and a reminder that the Gator Nationals, which is a long-standing event, will also still be coming up, which will have riders from around the world and around the country, so be looking for that. Oldsmar Public Library anniversary, that was tonight. Quite a few of us attended that, celebrating 10 years with Friends of the Oldsmar Library. I heard Commissioner Seidel say that it's hard to believe that he was there 10 years ago for the ribbon cutting, so it's amazing how time flies. Some upcoming events, Heart Saver, AED/CPR class, Saturday, January 20th, 9 to noon at the Fire Rescue, $30 for Oldsmar residents, plus a card fee. Play Day, Saturday, January 20th, 9 to noon at RE Olds Park. Free day of archery, games, kayaking, fishing, and more family fun. Community film screening, Wednesday, January 24th, 6 to 8:30 at Tico Hall. Weather Gone Wild film screening in participation with UF and IFAS. Free event, registration is required. Free electronics and chemical mobile collection. That's Saturday, January 27th, 9 to noon at the North County Satellite Site, which is a little bit south of the Home Depot on Curlew Road. If you go, I've done it and dropped off TVs and paint, and it's super efficient that they really move you through there quickly. So that about wraps it up with the exception of one more mayor's announcement, and I will let Al share that. Sir Al?
As council is aware, there's a new position in the budget effective February 1st to coincide with Bruce's actual retirement date. The position is called Assistant City Manager / Economic Development Director. And I wanted to announce to the public, as I've announced last week to the organization, that I've selected a very talented individual within our ranks, and she happens to be here tonight, probably has no idea I'm going to say it, but I've promoted Felicia Donnelly to that position effective February 1st.
Thank you.
And I'd say that means she has to work more hours now, but I don't know that that's possible.
Well, we spent quite a bit of time out at the track, and I remember she asked her husband, Jim, if he wanted breakfast Saturday morning, and he said yes before he realized that that meant 4 a.m. breakfast. So at any rate, congratulations. As I mentioned, item 1 is now going to become 13A, so we'll move on to the consent docket. And with the permission of the council, I would like to address items 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 separately. Those are the approval of the minutes of October 17th, 2017, approval of the minutes November 7th, 2017, approve the minutes of November 21st, 2017, approve the minutes of December 5th, 2017, and approve the minutes of January 2nd, 2018. I would like to separate those from items 7 and 8 in recognition of Kathy Horvath's tremendous amount of work that she's put in to bring us up to date. So I would like a motion for
Motion
those
to
items.
approve item 7, item 8.
Nope, well, okay, we can do it that way. Item 7 and item 8, yep. All those in favor? Aye. Perfect. Now we'll address the items 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I want to personally thank Kathy for really grabbing the bull by the horns with this one, getting us caught up to date. And as I understand it, you already have tonight's minutes done, so we can adjourn?
It's actually a script. She just decided while she was on a roll.
I see that.
So we don't really even need to be
I already
here.
know how we're all going to vote, so.
She's good, though. She's good.
But congratulations on getting all that done. I know the council appreciates that, and so does the public, because a lot of people go back and read that, so.
I'll make a motion to approve those.
Yep. Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you for your hard work.
Gary's happy. He's beaming over here.
Our next item is the presentation of the Employee Service Awards. And Al Braithwaite, you are doing the first one? The first one?
And am I correct, Wes is not here? Well, then I'm going to go right to the old man in the group, that being Mike Barrow. Mike, you want to come up? Bring Dad, bring Dana, come on. Well, I got something for Dana. I'm pretty sure. Sir, how are you? Nice to meet you. Hi, Dana.
Hi, how are you?
How are you? Nice to see
She's the
you.
power behind the man.
No.
Hello. Well, I know you're not going to make a speech, but you like to introduce your family.
Oh, this is my dad, Al, and this is my wife, Dana.
Well done, Mike, well done. Check for Dana. We're celebrating our anniversary with the city, and believe it or not, oh, I guess I should give you this too. An award. I also wanted to share with everybody that this is a 20-year service award, but technically speaking, Mike's worked for the city for about 24 years. He started in early to mid-90s and worked for, I think, 3-4 years in parks, and then took a shot at his own business and came back to us. And certainly our fortunes got way better, and we've managed to hold on to him for 20 years, and we'd like to celebrate that. I do have a little, this is kind of special for me because I've known Mike for a long time, and he's kind of my age. He's not quite as old, but there's a bunch of people in our organization who have been with us for a long time that I really take great pride in because they're kind of the old people. So I personally take a lot of pride in that. And Mike especially, I've kind of named this a little bit, and I call Mike the hardest working guy in Oldsmar, and I can support that with a couple of stories. Mike was hired as a fleet mechanic in Public Works, 1998, although as I said, he worked in Parks prior to that. He was originally hired in 92 as a maintenance worker in Parks, promoted to maintenance operator, and then left in 96 to try his own business. Then hired as an auto mechanic helper in 98, promoted to an auto mechanic 1, and then fleet mechanic. So he's been promoted 3 times. He's been here 20 years consecutively, but counting all service years, more like 24. Professionally, his job is fairly easy to describe. He fixes and maintains our 90 fleet vehicles and hundreds of pieces of equipment. He's a co-driver of our show vehicles. Some of you may know we have several Oldsmobile vehicles that have some age on them that we take to shows. Mike is responsible for keeping all of those running well, which can be a real challenge. He also helps us when we take them to shows by participating in that, which we're grateful for. And a long time ago, or not so long ago, but he also assisted in the installation of our automated fuel system, which was a whopping project. He's the winner of the fourth quarter of 2016 Brunson Streckengrost Award for Excellence in Job Performance. He was also nominated in 2012. He's got 3 commendations in his file for a job well done, and he's handled the entire garage by himself over extended periods of time, covering for staff shortages. We normally have 2 people over there. Personally married to Dana, great sons, both served in the Marines. Thank you for your service. He volunteers at everything. In fact, he and Dana both volunteer at everything. City special events, Oldsmar Cares. Mike logged over 100 hours at Oldsmar Cares last year. They live here, they work here, they play here, except Mike never plays. He's always working. I got a couple of quick stories to tell you, which will support my point about him being the hardest working guy in town. 10 years ago, I was tutoring a friend's daughter in math who happens to live in Mike's neighborhood. I'm walking out to my car. I didn't know Mike lived in the neighborhood. I look across the street. There's Mike mowing somebody's lawn. 5 years ago, I'm leaving Veterans Park. I drive down Shore Drive. I look off to the side. I notice Mike mowing another lawn on Shore Drive. Not just that, I go all the way down to the South Support area. I circle back after spending a little time in the South Support area. I look over to the other side of the street, Mike's mowing another person's lawn. In his spare time, he's a scorekeeper at the Adult Softball League, and he's been doing that for over 10 years. A while back, I'm working at our special event, I think it was Celebrate Oldsmar, and I see Dana come in the front entrance. Mike is trailing, but I don't see him yet. They're volunteering, as wonderfully usual. Mike has just had major knee surgery and was fighting through the rehab, which was frustrating because he wanted to get back to work. Mike Bertolio had just retired, and we have no full-time mechanic on staff. This was, by the way, the first time Mike ever used more than 1 day of sick leave in a row in his career. So I say hello to Dana, tell her how much we need Mike to come back to work, and she says, you can tell him yourself. He's in the truck back there. So I walk over to the truck, and I say hello to Mike, and I say, Mike, how you doing? You know, I need you to come back to work, man. He goes, yeah, I got to get back. I went to visit the guys last week, and the floor looks like crap. Now, the back part of that story is, and I would challenge any of you if you want to go visit the garage, you can eat off the floor in our fleet garage. I don't recommend it, but you can. Now, nowhere is that better or more useful for the city than if environmental inspectors show up, and this has happened, environmental inspectors show up, they take one look at the floor, they decide they don't need to do anything else, they turn around and leave. That's actually happened. Mike takes great pride in that as he does his work. Last Friday, in keeping with the Bruce tradition, I've had my first interdepartmental work day, and it happens to be in Fleet. So I go over there to the garage, I walk around, I take a few pictures, and I chat with the fellas about how it's going, ask what they might need, try and find out where my dang vehicle is. Mike can't sit. He's got to fix something. He's got to clean something. He's got to get a windshield wiper on somebody's truck. He's got to sweep the floor again. As you can see, Mike doesn't say much, but his work ethic says it all. We have many great people in this organization, but Mike represents the best of the rest when it comes to earning his pay every single day. We're very lucky to have him on our team. Thanks, Mike, for a great 20-plus years, and hope you stay for another 20. Congratulations. Oh, yeah. Well, I knew you already. Coincidentally, yeah, this is a little freak story, I guess. I went to Cincinnati to visit a friend, and we ended up going to the Bucks game because the Bucks were playing in Cincinnati. And I knew who he was. I'd never met Dana, but got on the plane to come home and turned around, and Mike was sitting in the seat in front of me, kind of out of nowhere, because he had gone to Cincinnati same weekend. That was kind of how we met. And Mayor, do you have something that you wanted to say?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of grew up in Cincinnati as well, as you know, and big fans of Skyline Chili. I know you went to Roger Bacon, isn't that correct? Yeah. And I think I have a picture here. I went to Coleraine High School. I don't know if you want to look at the monitor. Coleraine Cardinals state champs. I don't know if you have any of those or not, but. Yeah, graduated from Roger Bacon. Did he? That's awesome. So,
Congratulations, Mike.
A little Cincinnati pride there. Definitely. Congratulations.
I'll get a picture.
Thanks.
Come on, Dad.
Gal blocks me.
Oh, sorry, Susan. Anybody else?
Congratulations. Now go to Skyline.
Dan and Mike has been friends of ours, of my family, for, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 years, 30 years, or is it going on 40 or something like that? And I'm gonna tell you something, that's one of the quietest guys you'll ever meet. One of the best guys.
He hasn't rubbed off on Jerry at all, though, in the 25 years.
Next up is the Homer Brunson Ward Streckenhouse Award. If we could start the video, that'd be great.
The Homer Brunson Award, Strettengoss Award, was instituted in 1991. And what it was for, it was for one of our workers here in the city that was chosen by their peers to win the Ward Strettengoss Homer Brunson Award. And what the award is, it serves two purposes. One, to recognize an outstanding worker here that works for the city of Oldsmar. And the other, what it serves is that Ward Strettengoss and Homer Brunson were both council members here in the city of Oldsmar. Ward Strettengoss served as mayor for 16 years. His last year on the council serving was 1970. I had the privilege of serving with him on his last year. And Homer Brunson served 11 years as a council member and 1 year as a mayor. And this, so this serves two purposes: to honor Ward Strettengoss and Homer Brunson, and to honor one of the incredible workers we have in the city of Oldsmar.
And I would like to ask that person to come up, Steve Coppola. Are you going to bring your wife up? Rachel? Because we need you to verify if this stuff is really true. So this is a great thing because it is taken nominated from his peers that he works with. And so it's an honor to read the reason you're nominated. Steve is one of those people continually going above and beyond. He is known for coming to help others even when he is not on duty. The most recent example is Christmas Wonderland. The electricity was turning off repeatedly due to technicalities. Steve came in from his vacation and stayed to make sure the electricity would return when it turned off. He didn't just do that, though. Steve isn't a just do that kind of a guy. He helped his coworkers and kept the movie screen inflated. I'm sure he did more behind the scenes, but I couldn't say what exactly. That's because he doesn't talk about what he does. He just does it. There have been other times, such as when he worked long hours for Celebrate Oldsmar and then ran around like a madman preparing city facilities for Hurricane Irma. There are many times he comes in outside of work hours to get an air conditioning unit running again, to meet a vendor to get the best quote, to run down a technical guy why and figure out how to fix whatever the thorn is of the day. Steve is always looking to the best solution possible and heartily deserves this award. So I will read this. Homer Brunson Ward Schreckengoss Governmental Award presented to Steve Coppola for his outstanding service, dedication, and leadership to the City of Oldsmar 2017 fourth quarter. Congratulations. Telling you this, it comes with a day off, which you'll probably never use. And I'll give this to your wife. Check. And I can attest, and I'm out and about at a lot of the facilities, and I definitely see how hard Steve works. And when it comes to the Hurricane Irma thing, I think we can all attest. I was at the EOC with a lot of our staff, and Steve was there. And it was so nice that you were there because your wife was home so calmly tucked in her bed. But he was there making sure that everything went well. And luckily we didn't, take a direct hit, but Steve was there making sure everything was good and everything was happy. So congratulations to Steve.
Thank you.
Would you like to add anything? And he's actually a resident of Oldsmar, which is great because I know right where he lives and I can throw rocks at his window if we need anything. So once again, congratulations, and I guess it's picture time. I don't really want to stand next to you.
Is it possible to?
Huh? Oh, yeah, we got to stand for this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. I actually worked with his wife, Rachel, when I was on the board of directors of the PSTA, so I got some stuff on you. I'm just kidding. I don't have anything. Congratulations. Our next item is the presentation of the Council Manager Award, and Councilmember McGee.
Thank you, Mayor.
Better turn it off.
Honor this evening to present the Council Manager Award of Recognition to our Director of Planning Redevelopment, Marie Dauphiné. So Marie, if you would come up here and join me and say a few words. Give this to you. So I'm going to read a little bit of a bio for Marie, and then I have some words I wrote myself for you. Marie has been employed by the City of Oldsmar since February of 1987, over 30 years dedicated to the City of Oldsmar. I did not know that. Was very impressive. In April 2007, she was promoted to the Director of Planning and Redevelopment, so over 10 years leading the city in planning and redevelopment. She holds a master's degree in public administration. She's certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners and is a certified floodplain manager by the Association of State Floodplain Managers. In 2016, she obtained the Certified Economic Developer designation from the International Economic Development Council. She was past vice chair and chairperson for the Planners Advisory Committee of Forward Pinellas, previously known as the Pinellas Planning Council, and is a member of the County MPO Technical Coordinating Committee. Marie has over 30 years of extensive and diverse professional planning experience involving the development and administration of land development regulations, urban design, community redevelopment, neighborhood planning, comprehensive planning and permitting, development and management of complex multidisciplinary projects. As Director of Planning and Redevelopment, Marie is responsible for overall management and supervision of the department consisting of the Planning Division, the Building Division, the Code Enforcement Division, Business Tax Receipts Processing. With a staff of 7, the department evaluates and amends the comprehensive plan, protects local property values by enforcing the codes through the Code Enforcement Program, enforces the Land Development Code, and processes all development plans. Additionally, staff coordinates planning matters requiring collaboration with county, state, federal agencies, processes issues building permits. Marie is the lead for the city in directing and developing the Economic Development Program, development and redevelopment of the CRA, as well as the coordination of the National Flood Insurance Program Community Rating System, which we do a really great job with. Just to name a few of some of the projects that Marie has worked on for the city of Oldsmar. She's prepared the Tampa Road Corridor Plan. She's completed design guidelines for the community redevelopment area, project manager for the Hayes Park Cottages. She's directed the annexation program to include the annexation of the Tampa Bay Downs property. She's promoted business retention and expansion programs. She's implemented the Cypress Lakes Industrial Park program. She's developed a multimodal station area and transportation facility plan for the city. She's continued participation in the National Flood Insurance Program Community Rating System, and she streamlined development plan review, building permitting, and enhanced customer service procedures, and that is for sure. And then personally, I just wanted to add, one of the reasons why I selected Marie for this award, I was very surprised that you haven't received this award before, Marie, but Marie has been leading our planning and redevelopment department for more than 10 years. And as a citizen of Oldsmar for 10 years now, I can say without a doubt that our city has not only grown tremendously, but also with a standard and reputation that makes me proud to call Oldsmar home. Those standards and reputation have been built in large part because of Marie's leadership here within the city. Planning and redevelopment can often be a very thankless job, one that often gets a black eye for being difficult, too many rules, regulations, not enough progress, yet it's an important job because as we all continue to push forward to help our city grow, Marie and her staff ensure that we do it in a way that maintains the vision and the image we want to portray for many years to come beyond our role on council. So although her role in department may not come with many thanks, I wanted to take this moment tonight to thank you on behalf of our entire council and city for all of your hard work and efforts you do every single day. It does not go unnoticed, so thank you very much.
And I want to thank Mayor Beavis and all the council members and Tom, and of course the city manager. So I love working for the city. I love seeing the changes and how there's an ongoing transformation, and it's becoming really a unique, authentic community. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to work here and be a part of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations.
I don't know, I think you could probably photobomb Maria.
I probably
She'd
could
be
have
all
put it
right
on
with that.
Maria. She would expect nothing less. Next is our annual report on business assistance partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, and we have the Jerry and Jerry Show.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Jerry Peruzzi with the Chamber of Commerce and Jerry Custon.
I'm going to give you the business assistance report, and with luck, we'll have a little bit coming up here. Not too much. There you go. Good. What I'd like to do is emphasize that the word partnership, because it's really been a very valuable one. We'll hit the, don't know what we do, hit the next one here.
Yeah, if you aim it back at the window back there, it'll,
Name it?
yeah, just don't aim it at the deputy.
Here we go.
Go. Okay, this slide, and the only reason we're putting these slides up there is because it supplements our 2,000-page report, which the citizens at home can't read, that we have in your package over there. But to do that, we just listed on this slide some of the primary activities that we deal with, and I'd like to explain a couple of those in a little bit more detail. We mean business is what we do with the mayor, city manager, and the chamber every month on the last Friday of the month. We go out and visit businesses and sit down and review with them the good, bad, and the ugly, why they're in Oldsmar, what they think about it, what can be improved, and what do they like. And those things drive action. And last year we visited 32 businesses to do that, and we always get some very good comments on that. With our business a quarter, business a year, that's great. We work with you and the city council to do that. Sometimes we get to pick them, and sometimes you get to help us do it. But we had 4 recipients last year, plus Tucker Enterprise was given special recognition, and that was because of one of our businesses that we saw what LJ and his family have been doing in this community. And we also gave a special award, or the city did, to Denise Papich at Nielsen. Last year we made her the Oldsmar Cup winner for everything that she's done for this reason, as well as Sharon Edwards, who is a Citizen of the Year with her very beneficial pop drop campaigns and things of that nature. With the Business Assistance Program, that's a day-to-day operation we do, and that can include, but is not limited to, guidance on various issues dealing with city and county codes, other forms of technical assistance, direct counseling on business and marketing plans, as well as seeking financial assistance and grants and incentives, things like that, as well as we're able to provide professional assistance available with the trained small business administration counselors that we have access to either through Pinellas County or Hillsborough County. So when it gets above our pay grade, we're able to get professional counselors to do that. Meetings, we have monthly economic development and government affair meetings that we do. As a matter of fact, as you mentioned, Mayor, next month we're going to have Whit Blanton, the director of Pinellas Planning Council, or what Ford Pinellas now, I believe it is, come and talk about regional transportation. And we try to keep ahead of things on that, to be aware of what's going on in the community, so it once again can drive action instead of respond to action. So last year among the speakers we had Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, we had the Oldsmar Town Center Planning Meeting, we've hosted the Oldsmar Road Study to keep inside of that, Social Security Administration. We actually, during the fall, got one of our community resource officers to go over North Pinellas car thefts to keep our citizens aware on those kinds of things. We'll do that. Communications, is noted on the slide, we have a bi-monthly marketing meeting with Deb Pauley, and so we do joint marketing on our own. We do a 1,300 distribution weekly blast. We put out public service announcements, which will be coordinated with the city in many cases, as well as social media. In terms of projects, the main 2 big ones we have are Oldsmar Days and Oktoberfest. And we do also work with you on the annual parade. It draws about 30,000 people annually to the community. And now with the things that Felicia is doing, we have a lot more exciting options coming out there with that Super BMX, soccer, disc golf, zip line, hiking, biking, all those things. Oldsmar is the place to be. I'd like to point out that the bottom line on that slide is advance the economic development of the region and enhance the quality of life. All too often people think when you're advancing economic development, you're doing that at the expense of the quality of life. Those 2 things go together with good planning. Economic development does not mean the end of green acres if you plan well. And this city plans extremely well, and we're proud to be a part of that. Yeah. Some of the highlights that we had during the year is we met with leisure services as well as the hotel owners on the Oldsmar Sport Complex in terms of visitors' need, particularly up there with the Super BMX that we have, that we run, as well as the Red Storm coming in and other activities that you have going up there, we're going to attract more visitors. We know that. We also did a city tour for the visit. St. Petersburg Community Relations Manager with the city marketing director. She was new to the job, and we wanted her to see everything that we had up here. We drafted a letter of funding support to Ford Pinellas for the St. Petersburg Drive streetscaping. Conducted an electronic survey of 48 Oldsmar manufacturers for public works regarding the use of reclaimed water. Helped with the coordination of getting USF student architecture support for the town center study. Hosted a meeting based on Marie's request with developers interested in town center plan, so we could serve as a neutral third party to that and alleviate any concerns you had with going on there, as well as conducted an advanced manufacturing summit over at St. Pete Workforce Institute, including Career Source, St. Pete College, University of South Florida, and others. So we do a lot. Finally, just with the summary, we have a very cooperative interface and have for the past 15, 18 years, I guess it is, between the key city staff and the chamber. I'd say, based on your and my experience, this has got to be the best interface in the county, if not in the state. We've got a very, very good working relationship. The things that we look at is, the thing that I like to say is activate. What we want to do is build that interface between the business community and the staff, that this place is a great place to live, work, and play, and keep it that way. We like to unify as many activities as we can between the city and the staff and the business community, and break down any of those communication barriers between and among businesses or chamber, city officials. We like to try to serve as that third party and that unifying agent, as well as add value. We're always looking for opportunities for the city and the region to engage in whatever political action we need to advance our goals. So basically, that's what we do.
Just a couple of footnotes. The We Mean Business is really, Al's just getting started with it, but, you know, in my past as being mayor, did it with Bruce Haddock, the city manager, and it's amazing, and I think Al will attest, you know, we don't really know what to expect, and with very few exceptions, we typically come away from them, whether it's, and I mean this with all sincerity, whether it's the pawn shop on Tampa Road to Microlumen that does the heart valves, when you hear their business model and what they do and what's important to them, and then you go to Microlumen and some of these other places, the distributor of a lot of the beach goods that you see at your local stores, you know, it's like, wow, that's here in Oldsmar, and it's just amazing. And I know Al will attest that, you know, those great businesses really helped us in the downturn of the economy, that's for sure. So with the tax base, and we mean that, they are very important to us. And sometimes the reason we go on those is because your interface with them when they're trying to open a business is maybe not be a great experience. So we go and listen to them and try and help and understand and evaluate what may or may not have happened, and was there error on our part, or was there error on the contractor's part? And I would say for the most part, typically we walk away and everybody's happy and they're glad they're here. So at any rate, I think it's great. And I know we started doing this probably, I don't know, I don't think I was mayor yet, 5 or 6 years ago, because the city does provide the chamber some money for the business development portion of it. And there was never, at that time, there was never really a measurement mechanism to say, okay, we're giving you this money, but what is it really going to, so that we can tell our taxpayers what this money's for and our businesses and things like that. So I like seeing that at the end.
And Mr. Mayor, you know, when we first started doing that, Jerry was, I'm not sure if Jerry was off at that moment or not.
He's
but
been
I know
off.
Jim, and I was on, I know Jim Roniker was mayor at the time. And some may not realize, but the amount of our contribution, I just look at kind of the list of things that are ongoing activities, the major events that bring tons of people into our communities that we all have a sense of pride of, right? Our whopping contribution is what, $15,000 is what we give in support?
Right.
And so I would say that looking at the very last thing on your report, value. It's a really good value for the city. And I'll compliment our city staff, marketing in particular, as well as planning and redevelopment. The intertwining of that really kind of rounds out, I think, the city of Oldsmar. And so I think you guys have done a terrific job and continue to do so. So anyhow.
Yeah, and to that, I think you mentioned it earlier, I don't know the relationships of other cities and you know, their chambers. I've heard stories, but I think we do have a great, and where we've had it, you know, downfalls, we've corrected it. And I think it was about a little over a year ago, you guys started meeting with the marketing thing so that we're all kind of reading from the same sheet music. And so, you know, I think you guys have done a great job with the very limited staff that you have, that's for sure, so.
And what was the award? Best chamber?
Oh, yeah, did you bring that?
Sorry.
I am.
Sorry.
Just a
Sorry,
couple
Jerry.
things to add. That's
Oh.
okay, but thank you.
Reverse, I'll reverse.
First off, you know, I meet with chamber execs, local chamber execs in the area, and when I tell them about the cooperation we do have with the city, they're absolutely amazed. And then when I tell them about We Mean Business, they say the mayor and the city manager go to the business and meet with the business owner. I mean, they just can't believe that you get out in the city and do that. And I said, well, it's very important to them. I told them how important the business is in the city of Oldsmar. Put to Eric's note, in November, the Florida Association of Chamber Professionals awarded the Oldsmar Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce the Chamber of the Year in the state of Florida. So that was a great honor for us.
Isn't this the second time, this is the second time that's been
Correct.
awarded to the chamber in Oldsmar? Okay. And it was Mayor Roniker that started this program,
Yeah,
you're
that's
right.
great. Awesome. You didn't bring the award, what?
I didn't. I wasn't
Too far of a walk from downstairs?
too heavy.
Too heavy, you could have come up in the elevator. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, but thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to go into my Mayor Beefelton history thing. It was indeed Mayor Roniker that started this. And it was a coding violation that we had that happened to be with R.D. Joe's. And I went and he had some really, really nasty things to say. And I was trying to be, most of the times you get into one of these things, it's a communication difficulty between the code enforcement officer and the business. And you try to get there. If they could get there early enough, most of the time I could get it and say, well, okay, he said this and he said that, right? Now, here's what was said. And I get, oh, okay, I get it. And he could do it. This one couldn't solve. So I go back to Jim and tell him what's going on. He says, that wouldn't happen. Our city staff wouldn't act like that. I said, look, I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble, not trying to carry tales. You go and listen to this guy with me. So he did. And that's the way that got started. And Jim said, don't take me to any place like that again.
And we've had some that we've gone, Al and I are going on our own to one on Thursday, and, you know, hopefully it'll come out great, but
Yeah,
we have found in some cases, more often than not, that it's the contractor that is
it is.
Right.
not the one.
They-
Because you have a lot of inexperienced new business
The
owners.
business comes and does the planning, hands it over to a sub, and the sub doesn't talk to planning and development.
Communication will solve a lot of problems.
Yes.
In fact, that's how problems do not get solved, because nobody communicates with somebody else.
And when Jerry started that story about, and he was really nasty, at first I thought he was talking about Mayor Roniker. Because he was tough.
I'd like to say one thing with value in Steve. Steve also, if I'm not mistaken, is a Marine brother of your two sons, right? So that's a good thing. But Steve, in terms, the value would not occur if the cooperation and communication weren't there.
Yeah.
There would be no value without that.
Yep.
But I had a light problem with our censored lights, and so my lights were out for a while, and Steve found the most cost-effective solution to that. Now my lights work, thank you. But as Jerry Pruse will tell you, I'm still in the dark.
I was going to say, you left yourself wide open with your lights are out, so. I know you did. Thank you. Thank you for the report. Next is our city attorney, and you now have 2 items.
Okay, item number 13, that's the second and final hearing and public hearing of ordinance 2018-01. I'll read that by title only. Ordinance number 2018-01, an ordinance of the city of Oldsmar, Florida, amending the retirement plan and trust for the firefighters of the city of Oldsmar, adding a defined contribution component, providing for severability of provisions, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Mayor, that was the second reading of ordinance 2018-01 by title only, and it does require a public hearing.
This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to address this item on the public hearing? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. A motion for discussion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on this item? I don't know. There's some people out in the audience.
I don't know about those guys and gals.
And gals.
They're all smiling.
We had some good dialogue. Do you have anything to add, Jason? Anything? Okay, good.
I told them they've already won, go home.
If there's no, yeah, if there's no discussion, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Sidell?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Saraki?
Yes.
Councilmember McKee?
Yes.
Councilmember Beaverland?
Keep them smiling, yes.
Mayor Vivas?
Aye.
Second and final reading of ordinance 2018-01, amending the retirement plan and trust for the firefighters is passed and adopted with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you. Item 13A, it's the first reading and public hearing of ordinance 2018-02. Sit back, relax.
Well, I'm glad we moved this one.
It's a long title, so I want to read it slowly, word for word.
About the one that's two,
The detached.
This is number 1, item 1 on the agenda. It's
This
now
is-
13A.
We moved it from the CRA.
this, yeah, that's what, is this the one that's a long thing?
Yeah,
Yes.
Can I say something before we do this?
I'd rather he read it and then we'll,
Well, I would rather say it before he reads it, it might save him something.
okay, he's got to read it anyway.
Not necessarily. This is the one that was out of the Community Redevelopment Agency, right?
Okay.
How many, okay, let me start this way. I was part of this in the beginning. I was part of this. Do all of you really understand the redevelopment? Do you really understand it all?
What we're voting, what's being read?
No, the history of it and the whole thing.
Well, I was going to wait till after he read it, so we got to discussion, because I don't want the mayor to call me out of order, but he won't call you out of order, but
Okay. yeah.
Well, I
That's
hope
good.
there's a point, I would rather have him read it, so
Well,
we've all heard it.
I would, some of y'all, you can say you understand it, you were never a part of it. I would like to have a workshop on this. I think the council should be involved in this new one to give you a good background and understanding of what everything went through in the beginning. And that way, there's recommendation in here for change of this and change of that on a different subject. I think the council should be the one to go through this and make the changes and really understand what it's all about.
the core change is the detachment and moving the, call it parents' quarters from
I
being
know what
above
it
the
is,
garage. I mean, that's the most material.
but there's more. You go through this,
And that, Jerry, I don't know why it was set up that way, so that's
Okay.
true.
well, that's not important, right? I mean, that's important, but no, what I'm getting at is that in the future, you people will have that under your belt, that you will make it for the future councils. You will understand it. You'll put your fingerprint on it. You may have some recommendations that you want to change in it. As you go, you will understand it more. And I would rather have this as a workshop, that your fingerprints are on it. My fingerprints are, whatever fingerprints I have on it, been rubbed off somewhere and they're gone. I don't even have any DNA on it anymore. I think it's beneficial to you to go through this, understand what changes you may think, and put your fingerprints on it. Now, my recommendation is that we have a workshop on this and then bring it back, and then your DNA will be all over it.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to move forward with this, read it. That doesn't by any means how we're going to vote or what we're going to do, but I would like to at least read it so we all hear it, the public hears it, and then we can discuss it and move it forward or not, so.
Shall I proceed?
Yep.
Okay, ordinance 2018-02, an ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, amending certain sections of the Town Center Development Code and Appendix A thereto, amending the reference to the Town Center Development Code to include code, amending the provisions for the development approval to include that all building elevations, including all sides, dimensioned, colors, sign locations, and materials must be submitted. requiring any development plan other than plans for single-family residential lots or duplex lots, which request 3 or more variances from the code to apply for a development agreement. Modifying the terms dwelling accessory, mixed use, and structure accessory under the code, as well as renaming the term dwelling row house to dwelling row house/townhome. And modifying the definition thereof and adding impervious surface ratio ISR, planning official, and setback, railroad as definitions. Amending the plan impact paragraphs of the land use and zoning article, requiring that all construction comply with all relevant sections of the Oldsmar Land Development Code concerning development in special flood hazard area. Amending the plan unit development overlay district provisions of the code, amending the accessory dwellings provisions of the code, amending accessory structures within the town center residential and town center boulevard districts, provisions of the code, amending the permitted uses in the town center residential district, provisions of the code, amending the standards contained in the building regulations, single-family detached dwellings, and building regulations, row house dwelling tables, amending the standards contained in the town center boulevard district table, amending the permitted uses in the town center commercial neighborhood district, adding places of worship as a permitted use in both the town center commercial neighborhood and town center commercial residential districts, amending the conditional uses of the town center commercial residential district, amending the requirements for lot setbacks, amending the provisions for minimum off-street parking in the town center, amending the methods of providing required parking for off-site parking in the town center, relocating the provisions for and establishing additional and supplementary guidelines for specific development types within the town center, amending the definition for TCCR St. Petersburg Drive East and Washington Avenue as it relates to the architectural design pattern book, amending the definition for lot coverage and replacing it with impervious surface ratio, under the provisions for building articulation, amending the definitions for on-street parking and fences as contained in the general streetscape standards, requiring that mechanical equipment not be located in the front of principal buildings, and providing for an effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 2018-02 by title only, and it also requires a public hearing.
This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to address this item? Either for it or against it? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. For discussion purposes, I need a motion.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Oh, the floor is open for discussion. Jerry has already,
Okay, see.
I guess my first question would be, and I didn't want to get into the dialogue prior to him reading it, but are there, as Councilmember Seidel mentioned, one of the major things, and I guess maybe Marie can address some of this, is the in-laws quarter, mother-in-law's quarter change. A lot of this, and Marie can correct me if wrong, a lot of it seems like housekeeping issues. I'm not 100% sure. If Marie maybe can.
But none of your DNA is on it. You know,
I understand.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem addressing what this started out to be, and I would vote for that, what it started out to be. But you got amendment here, amendment there, and amendment there, and you can say all day long, well, I understand all this, but if you weren't part of that,
I understand.
the changes.
Marie, can you address kind of what?
Hey, wait a minute. There's still discussion here.
I understand. I asked for Marie to come up.
Well,
And
that's fine. She
Okay.
can come up. I mean, you have the right to bring her up here.
thank you.
But none of your DNA is on it. Your fingerprints on it. You people, you know, if you want to amend the grandma house, do it simply and let's just get it done. But if you're going to amend all of this, we should have put that separate to start with. But the council needs to go through this and educate yourself about it, because you can say, well, I understand all this. Well, maybe you do. I went through it, and we went through this a lot of times, and there was a lot of changes, and there was a lot of minds twisted into it. I want your fingerprints on it.
Okay. Well, that'll
For
come.
future.
That depends on the council's vote tonight. I guess before I ask Marie to kind of give us a Reader's Digest version, is there something specific that you're trying to address that?
Yes,
What?
yes.
Okay, what?
You people,
I get that, the DNA, okay.
That's all.
Okay, okay.
no, no.
I didn't know if there was something specifically, the language in here, or?
No,
Okay.
no. I just think the language should be your language
I understand.
and not the language of when I was older than dirt.
I mean, I would disagree because that's why we have city leadership.
No, that's why you're sitting here.
But I also think that is why we have city leadership, so that we don't have to go through every single thing. I certainly have read and understand the amendments, and I had conversations with Marie about this, that, and I'm sure she'll speak to in a minute, that it's been a very long time since we've addressed this. And
That's
so
horrible.
when the dwelling came up, she said, we should probably take a look through it because there's probably other things that need to be updated, and there are. I mean, even just allowing place of worship within, we already have places of worship in the, in the town center. So there are things like that that are simply housekeeping, that why make us vote individually at every different meeting instead of doing it all together? I mean, that's just good efficiency.
Because that's what councils are for. Councils are to sit here and make the decisions on something this important. And you should, we're going to do something tonight that we do every year. This should be important to you people, that we do this maybe every 10 years. Go through this thing. It's old.
Okay. When is the last time we visited this?
2007.
Okay, so that's 10 years. So, okay, can you kind of address the Reader's Digest version?
Primarily is the accessory dwellings. They're required to be above a garage or attached to the main structure, but that creates issues for people in the special flood hazard area, because then they have to bring the whole structure up to code. So, times have changed since we first adopted this code, and people want to have like a mother-in-law suite or accessory dwelling for a guest house or a casita or whatever. So if it's on like if it's a standalone, it's a lot easier to construct it, redevelop it, whatever. We also have a problem with the fences. In the town center, the fences in the front yard are limited to 3 feet. But outside the CRA, they can be 3.5 feet in the front yard. So we want to be consistent, because then we get questions, well, why can't I have a 3.5 foot? It's, in the regular land development code, and so that's what we're trying to fix. What else is there?
I understand that, but don't you think that the council should have a part in that? This is an important document. Put the grandma houses, just make it separate, and let the council go through it and put their.
Marie?
For example, in
Can we just let her finish so we can kind of get it in, and then we can jump into questions?
So now we're changing it from lot coverage, which was something that we used in the 80s, to impervious surface ratio to be consistent with the land development code. So there's those types of things. And there was no really reference to special flood hazard. And that's a big thing in the CRA now. So we want to make sure we incorporate it, because people go through the code, developers or whoever, and they say, well, it's not in the town center code, and that's where I'm developing. So we want to kind of clarify some of those things.
Well, don't you think the council should have a part in that?
Yes.
There you go.
Well, we do have a part.
Well, you're sitting here voting on something
Okay.
without really studying it.
Councilmember Seidel, you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question for Marie. Marie, when I've gone through this document, for the most part, other than the change in the dwelling and the fence height, and there was something else, which I wouldn't really consider the fence height or material, most of these changes are definition changes, aren't they?
Yeah, primarily housekeeping, definition, I don't know.
I don't disagree we should go through it. I don't know, thank you. Jerry, I don't disagree that we should be more involved and hold a workshop and go through it. But I don't think this document really.
This document says it all.
It's not making material changes to it, though. No. So I would argue that I agree with you, and we should have a workshop on it and go through it to look for other more meaningful changes. But I think this is coming from a staff planning standpoint.
I understand. You're
right. So I don't need to be part of. Let me restate that. I don't think we need to be part of saying, okay, it was called surface coverage, now it's called impervious surface. Those types of things, or that we should have a meeting to change it from 3 feet to 3.5 feet. Perhaps we should have had a meeting on changing the dwelling, but I think that's probably,
Two meetings ago, or a meeting ago, you discussed it, and I discussed it, and we didn't like what was done. What happened on Park Boulevard and St. Pete Drive. That could happen in the CRA, and you'd have a part in that. Maybe you don't like the idea of a 3.5 foot fence, okay? You can have a part in doing that, but just doing it like this, there's a lot more to it.
I totally, you know what, I do agree with you. I think you make a very valid point. My point is that I don't believe this.
I agree.
I don't believe this is material, but I do believe we should have a workshop to go through it all.
On the
That's what
substance.
I'm asking for.
Yeah, on substantive.
And I agree with Commissioner Seidel that this is, a lot of these things, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of these changes are because of people that have applied before and,
Brought them to attention.
you know, brought to attention, and so we're finally going through in housekeeping. As to the meat of the, you know, this issue, I think, you know, I think the dwelling and it, I don't know if I want to get caught up in 3.5 foot, but, you know, as to the substance of what's in this document, yeah, I think we should have a workshop.
But
on it.
I would agree with Councilman Beaverland that we should schedule a workshop to really go through the whole thing. I think that's a very good point.
The substance.
We are the board of the CRA.
Yes, you are.
And we should be familiar to know every detail of it, and that's a good
And
point.
that's all I'm asking for.
And tweak the actual substance,
Right.
not the.
That's what I'm asking for.
Yeah.
I agree with Commissioner, or Councilmember Seidel, that I don't know that this, whether we do or don't do this, is,
Yeah, I think you
I
make
just
a
want
good
to bring
point,
it to your
though.
attention.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with
Yeah.
that, and I think we've done that on other
disagree.
things. We're getting ready to do that on, you know, on code enforcement. We'll
Right.
Go through that and understand it.
I'd love
just
to
want to do it grammatically.
piggyback the two, but I would bet we don't have enough time from an advertising standpoint, do we?
Okay, I would like, if you all could put a date on a work session or put it on the next council meeting that,
Can we add that to the next council meeting to select a couple of dates to?
all I want is,
That's fine.
I'm not going to be here that long. You know,
You're gonna be here for a long time.
well, I've got 28 years.
Only 8 o'clock.
Well, I could go home right now if you'd let me.
Motion?
I was part of this in the
I
beginning.
agree. You made your point.
I just want you people to have your DNA
Well, I think we
on
do.
it.
I think that's the one thing about this council is that we do want to be involved and we do want to understand the things, whether it's code enforcement or this or anything that we do within the city
Okay.
is
I
understand
made my
it. So,
point.
Yeah, I think you made a good point, too.
I didn't call for a motion yet, did I?
Yep.
I did. Motion and a second for discussion. Motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item or input onto a workshop?
Junior, I just want to say thank you. I agree. Personally, for me, I think this would help me learn more, and the workshop is a great idea. But I don't think there's anything that needs to be changed in this particular
I
document. I
don't
think
care
it's
about this
fine.
document. I just care about
No, I agree.
That's it.
future.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
McGee? Anything? No? Okay.
No, I said my piece. I
Yep.
think, I trust our city staff also to lead as they've done for many, many years and to make these changes that are, housekeeping and
Yeah, I don't-
I think are necessary. And I'm totally fine with having a workshop to dive deeper into anything else that might be called to our attention for changes.
Well, I mean, I think one case in point is the, what is it, Washington and,
Park.
no, what's,
Dar-
the house, for 2 front yards. You know, I mean, that was something that, we as a council didn't think was right, so it's got, I mean, I think those are the things that, I would rather have my DNA on that than these and does and micro.
I totally agree.
I'm going with fingerprints.
Okay. No more discussion, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Settles?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Zareki?
Yes.
Councilmember McKee?
Yes.
Councilmember Beverly?
Yes.
Mayor Beavis?
Aye.
First reading of ordinance 2018-02, amending the City of Oldsmar Town Center Development Code is passed with 5 votes for and 0 against.
City Attorney.
We did double your volume tonight, so.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
About to triple.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, oh, boy. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 14 is a Snyder hearing of the EZOD Major Site Plan Amendment, paren MA 17-09, to convert an existing office building into a medical office building, construct a 5,200 square foot retail building, construct a 930 square foot retail building, and construct a 1,200 square foot dwelling unit with landscape and parking lot improvements within the residential office retail zoning district As it is a Snyder hearing, I'm asking the city attorney to handle it.
Thank you, Al. Anyone that's going to speak on this particular item tonight, since it is a Snyder hearing, quasi-judicial hearing, if you could stand up, raise your right hand. I'm going to swear you under oath if you're going to speak tonight. Anyone that's going to speak, stand up, please. Raise your right hand. You swear that the testimony you're going to give tonight is going to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Okay, so we're going to start with a presentation by staff.
Marie Daphne, Planning and Redevelopment Director. I've got a short presentation. Good. So this is the EZOD Major Site Plan Amendment. Whoops, excuse me. And it's located on Tampa Road. It's part of the Gumby subdivision. It's in the corner of Tampa and Gimgong, and it was formerly the GSA site, and there was an enterprise rent-a-car. So it's zoned ROR, residential office retail. That permits mixed-use development, so residential, office uses, retail uses. And the applicant proposes to construct the existing GSA building into a medical office building. Also, he's going to construct a two-story, 6,130 square foot retail center in the front, fronting on Tampa Road, and also construct a 1,200 square foot apartment. And that will be used for security for the site. 83 parking spaces are required and 91 proposed. And the applicant is also providing enhanced landscape along Tampa Road and Gimgong Road. So that's the existing condition, the two-story office building that will be redeveloped. There's limited landscaping and no access to Gimgong. This shows the retail center in the front, the GSA building that will be redeveloped, and the apartment. And as I said, the applicant is going to provide enhanced landscaping along Gimgong and Tampa Road in accordance with the Tampa Road Corridor Plan. He's going to add landscaped islands in the parking lot and a canopy trees next to the pond and next to O'Reilly's. That's an elevation of the medical office building. This was what was once GSA, or they'll transform it. And it'll be a two-story building. They're adding a tower. Columns will be constructed and earth tones. The retail center in the front, they appear to be two-story. It's really one story. And then there's a separation in between the buildings. There's like a standalone building. That's because of drainage easement. So they had to separate it out. You wanted to have that. So there's brick column accents, which is in keeping with the Tampa Road corridor. And here's the elevation of the apartment. It's a 1,200 square foot apartment. It's a two-story building with the garage and storage area. And so we're asking that he kind of enhances that landscaping to complement the other buildings on site. In the Tampa Road corridor, the architecture needs to be enhanced with decorative elements. Provide a larger color palette range, and each building needs to complement the other buildings on site. And we have spoken to the engineer and the owner, and he's willing to do that. So the staff recommendation is staff recommends approval of the major amendment to convert an existing 8,604 square foot office building into a medical office use, construct a new 6,130 square foot retail center, and construct a 1,200 square foot apartment. And that's contingent on the applicant working with staff and enhance the architectural elements of the retail center and apartment to be more consistent with the Tampa Road corridor plan and adjacent properties. So I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, and if you have any questions, I will try.
I have probably two questions of staff, but any council questions?
I don't, I do have the applicant.
Okay. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
This here is the back of the building?
That is the retail that's fronting the existing GSA building. So that is what we're asking him to make kind of enhancements.
And why are we looking at this?
The medical building.
The medical building,
this building here, building on the bottom,
Oh, they just were giving you
I
an
hate-
idea of what.
I don't want their ideas, I want to see what they're going to do.
Well, actually, what I showed you tonight in the presentation, that's what they're proposing, but it's a work in progress. They are going to have to meet the Tampa Road corridor requirements. They're
They're
going to have,
proposing this,
not those two in the
they're
bottom.
proposing this.
Yes.
Marie, can you explain to me what apartment is? It like living apartments?
No, it's just for the caretaker security person. It's a medical facility, and it's going to be very upscale with a lot of equipment, and they wanted somebody on site.
Okay.
And since it's residential office retail, it permits residential uses. So it's not like they're going to rent something out. You know, many times there's a caretaker or a security officer that actually lives on site.
Public storage is a prime example.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
Well, to piggyback on that, and I know, don't just tell me it's legal, I know all this is legal. But if they're going to tell us, well, you know how I am. If they're going to tell us that that's for security.
Security or caretaker,
then
right.
I want it in right, and it's legal for me to say this. Thank you.
You hope.
I want it in writing that they'll never rent it out as an apartment to somebody.
Here's the thing, the zoning over there is ROR.
I understand that, but
So
see,
that's not a requirement of the current.
I
zoning.
understand that, but they always come in,
Sorry, you're right.
you know, I've told them
I'll
a
hold both.
1,000 times, don't show me a damn Cadillac and then bring me a Volkswagen.
I do not believe that they would ever
Unless
rent
it's
it
his
out.
Volkswagen.
Well, okay, I want to keep it to questions, and I guess the question is of Tom, really, more directly. I don't know
Sorry.
that we can require
Sorry,
that.
Mr. Mayor.
I mean, I guess we can do whatever we want, but can that be a requirement?
You can request it, you cannot require it.
Okay, there you go. We can request it, we cannot require it.
Okay.
Any other questions of staff? I have two questions, just want to confirm, you said two-story retail up front, but the drawings show one. Is it one with a?
It's actually, it appears to be two-story. They have, and it's really one story.
Okay, but it's not technically two functioning stories, it's
No.
just a facade. I had a great other question, and I can't remember what it was.
Mary, you're getting as bad as I am.
Well, I don't know if I'm getting that bad. That's pushing it.
So that current building, they're going to remodel that?
Yes, that was the first elevation that I showed you with the
Okay.
columns. And
Yeah.
I think it's very attractive, and that's going to be actually,
What kind of things were, because we're kind of giving you, we're potentially motioning or not motioning on this based on what you're going to try and go, what are the types of things that you're going to try and get from the client? So
Some
we have-
decorative
'cause we're not going to
elements.
see it again.
decorative elements, you know, it could be like tiles of some kind, something to really make it more attractive to the corridor, because the retail buildings in the front are going to face Tampa Road. The GSA building, the redevelopment of that's fine. And the applicant's willing to work with us. He just wanted to get this in front of us so we could,
Okay. Is that something that, and I'll ask the applicant and/or you, is that something that we can have by the next second reading? Or at least have an understanding of
this
what?
is the only time it's going to be.
See,
Yeah, okay.
this won't come before us again,
No,
right?
okay.
Tom?
So,
Well,
and the proof is in the pudding. You guys have done a great job, even before the Tampa Road corridor plan was in place, that people were adhering to it before. I'm sure the applicant knows the types of architectural standards. I mean, it looks similar with the line to a lot of the buildings that we have in Oldsmar, Bay Arbor Place, Goodwill, and the like. And I think even maybe not Goodrich, but Sherwin-Williams does.
Goodwill, yeah.
Yeah, Goodwill. So, okay, those were my two questions.
in fact, Goodwill, because of these architectural designs that we have, this is the only Goodwill you'll probably see
That
with
looks
a
like that.
decent architectural design.
Any other
Well,
questions?
there's like brick columns, but there's other elements he might put, contrasting paint colors or something, and he has no issue
Okay.
with that.
We'll hear.
But you can talk to him.
Yeah, we'll hear from the client, from the applicant, and see if we can.
Well,
if we have
I still have a problem here.
question or problem. This is question.
Well, I can put the problem into a question.
Okay.
I have a problem with this design. Are you going to take care of it? And I
Yes.
put that into a question.
Yes.
You're going to take care of it?
Yes.
See, the problem is, this is the only time I'll ever see it, and I don't like it.
I wish I'd have bet money on you.
I know, I did.
Oh, you did too? I even told Marie, I could have verbatim said,
About enhancements.
I could have verbatim said the Cadillac story, so, anyway.
I can, when the applicant submits, I can
The applicant's still going to
give it to
speak,
the city
so
manager and he can send it out to you
that's fine.
for
Save your-
comments, if that's going to make you feel more
please.
comfortable.
Okay, you can save your question, because that was a weak question. You kind of, that wasn't Jeopardy style, but if you could
Wait a
hold that,
minute.
the applicant's going to be up. Any more questions of staff?
It was a strong question, because it was put before the individual
Right.
that's going to okay this thing.
Right, but we need to put it before the applicant and hear their
I'll
input,
give it
so.
to the city manager and he can distribute before it's approved, the architecture, if that.
But it's beyond that, it's too late by that point, I would think, so if we vote tonight.
Or it's a work in progress.
You'll
You'll
see
be,
it, but it's not coming before us, so it's kind of in your hands, but,
Yeah, we'll just hold you accountable.
yeah. We'll take,
Put that in the way of a question.
can we make that award you got tonight contingent?
yeah, really.
Thank you. You put that into the record, did you say?
Okay, it's time for the applicant to step forward. Sir, if you could come forward, raise your right hand, and tell us what your name is and your relationship to the project.
My name is Syed Laik Ali. I do the engineering and construction. That's the background I come from. I represent the client. And just to put him at ease, my educational background is I have architecture and master's in urban design and planning. I've been in design business since '93. Few projects I have done for the city of Tampa, and I'm involved in the city of Orlando also and around. But very small and very humble office is what I represent.
Could we have your address too? I don't think I heard your address.
Your business address?
My business address is 11930 Old Morris Bridge Road, Tampa.
How about USF?
75 and Fowler.
Okay.
Right. I think Mary has done a very excellent job explaining the entire project and the different components of the project. And we do know that we have an existing two-story building that's we're going to be remodeling it. And in the process of remodeling, we're going to be enhancing it to meet the scenic corridor of your Tampa Street or Tampa Road. And also we have a proposed retail in the front, the one we were talking about. And I'm just coming to the issue because there's no sense for me to duplicate the same thing what Mary said. I think she has done an excellent job. I think the staff has done an excellent job working with us, and we're very grateful for their help. And also, I think we know that we're going to have some progress on the architecture aspect and aesthetic of that to meet the requirement and to satisfy at large to others also. And this instance, for this meeting, it's kind of hard for us to come up with something, as nobody has a crystal ball to say, hey, this is what you like, and I cannot really, it's very subjective when it comes to the architecture, and I'm coming from a student of the architecture. So it's really hard, but I think it's as a practice. I think we are willing to go and do a sketch or two to have it liquid, and then we'll go forward from there.
And I think that's the applicant behind, and I think he's heard some of the questions that are concerns from council. So if you could come up and state your name and address for the record, that'd be great.
First of all, thank you very much. My name is Osman Izad. I am the CEO of 2 healthcare companies. I'm very proud to tell you that I'm bringing one of the most modern projects in the history of medical industry, which will be started in Oldsmar.
Can we have your address, please?
Yes, sir. 155 Mobley Bay Drive, Oldsmar, Florida. I'm a resident of Oldsmar. That is my first home I bought in the United States, so I choose to live in Oldsmar. I have built another business in Oldsmar, which is a nail salon. I have built the nail salon which people have not seen in 30 states. I have a picture if anybody wants to see. It's amazing. I have spent very serious money to build it. People will come and people will drive 2 hours just to see it in Oldsmar. My background is I'm a mechanical engineer. I have an MBA in marketing. Then I have a second master's in human resources. My wife is a physician. She's a graduate of Northwestern Memorial Hospital, Chicago. Right now, we are operating one of the biggest psychiatric group in whole Tampa Bay area. Being an engineer, I have another company which is known as Global Health Choices. I have designed the most modern telemedicine system in the world. And it's very difficult to claim, but I have a claim that I have the best system available in the world. I went to American Telemedicine Association, and even Google system was not even comparable to me. I've hired engineers who worked with Baxter for 30 years, and it was my design concept, and we fabricated. The telemedicine concept is the doctor will be sitting here, the two-story building. On the top story, I'm hiring doctors and physician assistants. They will be sitting here at the administrative. It's like a call center of the doctors. And we are opening clinics all over Florida. Our business goal is that we have to open 100 clinics all over Florida in next 2 years. Already I have been approved by Medicare. This is my local, I call it local US project. We opened a clinic in Port Richey right now. We're opening clinics in the remote area. And the biggest thing which I'm very proud to tell you is right now the practicality is mostly healthcare facilities do not like to see Medicaid patient because of the less reimbursement. And the overhead doctor office, because running a doctor office, the overhead is so high that technically when doctors see a Medicaid patient, they technically lose money, right? My model is, because I have designed a machine, the machine do everything. Like when I put stethoscope, patient comes in Port Richey, there's a medical assistant there. We have a software, when we put a stethoscope on their chest, doctor sitting in Oldsmar is going to hear their live heartbeat and lung sound in 1/10 of a second. The moment I put EKG leads on that patient in Port Richey or Tallahassee or Miami, doctor has two screens. One screen is for the medical, one screen becomes EKG machine.
Okay.
So this is a new concept. This is the future of medicine, right? And like a Baycare, such a big organization, they have come up with a telemedicine, but this is just like a Skyping on modern version. They are just talking on the tablet, not doing anything medical. My system is one of the only system in the United States who satisfies Medicare guidelines face-to-face encounter. So we will love to see all the Medicaid patients because my doctor is sitting at one place and seeing patients all over Florida.
We want you here.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I
we
appreciate
want
that.
but right now we're discussing the building.
I know,
I was just trying to...
we're going to get to that, and I appreciate the background so we understand
And
what's...
that-
I love the background. Sorry, Jerry. I love the background. Go on.
Right, thank you for that.
And I appreciate that, and
I was just trying to tell you
Sure.
what I'm bringing to the city of Oldsmar.
We
I
love
was
that.
very excited in telling you about this, right? Now, as far as the building is concerned, right, like Honorable Council Member said, whatever you want and you recommend, I can give you in writing. Like an apartment, I can tell you, there will be few $1 million equipment over there. So I have a manager who has been working with me, right? He's going to live over there. If you want in writing, I can give you in writing to City Council.
I will take your word.
So I have no problem, right? All the buildings which we are building in the front, double-story, back, we are not renting it out. I have a medical spa in Clearwater. I'm moving that is a rented place, so I'm going to build this, move my medical spa. I have built a very high-end nail salon. I'm going to build, front building will be medical spa and a very high-end nail salon.
so it's retail, but it's your retail.
Right, my own business. The double-story building, downstairs is psychiatry, right? And the upstairs is all telemedicine primary care. And then this is going to control all the other locations. Here the doctors are sitting and seeing patients all over. Already I have opened a clinic in Port Richey. As far as the building is concerned, we will do whatever, whichever color. I already told Honorable City staff, whatever color you want, whatever design you want, right? We are ready to work. I'm a proud resident of Oldsmar.
Any design I want?
No,
No, we want to get it open.
Easy.
Let me tell you something.
This thing's being recorded. And I think to your architect's point, it's difficult to put something together to bring
Right.
before us without,
It's here. Right now, like we are hoping to get this PD or site plan approval, right? And then I have to go to my bank. There are certain requirements. When I become the owner, right, then my engineers are ready. I have a full engineering, very professional engineering team. They are going to remodel the existing building so I can move our businesses over there and start building.
Sure.
So we are working with your city staff. They're very helpful. We're trying to do whatever they like. They have given us some styles, and we will do whatever we want. No, we are not renting out anything till the time I am alive. If I die, I don't know what my wife is going to do.
Well, again, we want you here. And I don't care what color your building is painted.
No, we will do whatever color you want.
And to Councilmember Beaverland's point, and we've seen, probably more so with the site plan and the use is we appreciate the background and what you're putting in there, and we're looking at the site plan. Working out the aesthetics of it is one thing, but we don't want like seeing site plans that all of a sudden they change and all of a sudden it's a car lot. So
in this case, it is a car lot.
And you don't want it to be a car lot.
I can here. Am I allowed to come over there? I want to show you a picture.
Yeah.
Sure, I want to see it.
Yeah, it's at your own risk.
You see this, the nail salon reflected. This is just a mini nail salon.
Yeah, I'm still not getting my nails done, but that looks nice.
Over here.
I might.
I want some serious money.
Is that where you put the cotton between the toes and everything? Look at it. Yeah, show it to the old guy down
I
there.
will, sir, I will. I'm going to invite him over there.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll have a council day
Oh, very nice.
This is Tampa Road, Oldsmar.
First, the skydiving.
with Al.
Very nice.
So if I can put this money in nail salon, I'm going to put some serious money in my medical office.
Very nice.
Very nice. Okay.
So I have some questions when we get to questions.
And if
Well, it's going, he shows it to me and it goes black. Well, I don't want to see that. I want to see the building.
no, that's
No, look at that.
that's what he did
Where you
inside.
get your, Jared, it's where you go for your pedicure.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at the chandeliers I put.
Oh,
Jerry, it's where you send your wife on her birthday.
So we are ready to work with city. Whatever city tell us, there's this color, this style, we will do it.
That was the question so far was about the architecture. If you have another, these are questions only.
Yeah. Well, a question, okay.
Gotta get him on.
If the city requires something that's ridiculous, just come and see me.
Okay.
It's not in the form of a question.
That wasn't in the form of a
Clear question.
I can change that real quick.
Yeah, that wasn't in the form of a question, Mr. Alex Trebek, but Councilmember Siddell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You did answer some of my questions in your presentation, and it's too bad you're not a little bit more excited about it. So do you have other medical facilities currently?
Yes, we have other medical facilities. We are renting those places.
Got it.
Right, so basically we want to buy this. This become our main corporate headquarters. We have already opened location in Port Richey. After I close this deal, then I have plans to open location in St. Pete, Tampa, and we have a plan to open 100 locations in next 2 years, all over Florida.
And so this is actually going to, the 8,600 square feet is actually going to be the headquarters?
It's a main headquarters mostly for the Central Florida and Tampa Bay area. This building alone cannot. I need to hire 50 physicians and 200 nurse practitioners.
Question, what do you anticipate in
So
terms
when
of
we will
employment?
open, in the south, we will open another office. In the north, on this weekend, I have a meeting with a doctor who especially came from Panama. So we're opening a headquarters in Panama for the northern side because there's a huge demand in the remote areas of the northern Florida.
Yeah.
So we will bifurcate these offices. I have to have office like this, two more, one for south and one for north.
And I think your question was, in this particular facility, we're obviously interested in high wage jobs and how, is that your question? Like how many people
Yeah, I
are?
was curious how many, so in this
wait.
facility, how many employees do you think you'd have?
So right now we have almost about 40 employees. Immediately just by moving in, we need to hire at least 25 more. And I'm going to hire, the nation, we're hiring 30 people over there. So I'm going to create 70 jobs just in the next 6 months in the city of Oldsmar.
Okay.
And do you have, assuming that the process continues forward here, do you have any timelines in mind which you expect to actually break ground and get started? I don't know whether you're doing this financing
for the
yourself
front building,
or...
For the front, the medical spa and nail salon, my main goal is to move my psychiatry and remodel the upstairs and that. That is my main goal. I was talking to my engineer that my goal is that my bank closing date is for next month, 17th. I had a meeting with my banker today. Today's approval is one of the bank's requirements.
Sure.
Because they want to see that city is fine what we're doing, and then they said we close it. Already they have my tax returns, they have everything. I have already put my down payment in the escrow account, so we're ready to close that. Banks feel very comfortable. After that, I was talking to him that immediately we start making the remodeling plan for the existing building, the two-story building. Because that is the one, that company is buying the whole lot.
So I was just asking my city manager that you're actually purchasing the property, you're not going to be a tenant of any, you'll be a tenant, but you'll be the owner.
No, we are the owner.
Or somebody will be.
Yeah, no, me and my wife are going to own this place.
Right.
And then.
I mean, your wife's going to own it, you mean, right?
Yes, technically here. So, like, my goal is to move here by June 30th, right?
What's your engineer say about that?
That's the first I've heard of that.
This is going to be an interior remodel of the second floor. I was explaining how we could go ahead and accomplish that. And I think there are two phases to it. And I think phase one shouldn't be that difficult to do the interior. Basically, it's minor walls moving and tearing down and adding some here and there. Phase two is where I need an elevator, the one you saw with the little tower, that elevator to go up and out that. So we may have a little lead time on the elevator. We shouldn't have any problem getting it done. Hopefully, I think we'll have no delay in the permit process.
Getting it done by when?
So we were talking about.
So by June 30th, we will absolutely move on the down, on the ground floor.
Do you, when do you hope to have the medical facility broken ground on anyhow? Behind it, the new buildings?
That we will do after we complete this. My goal is first to remodel this, move this, then we build the front, right? And after that, we build the apartment and all that stuff.
Just for clarity, because I want to make sure that I'm hearing the same thing Eric's hearing, is he's going to remodel the GSA building first and second, first floor, second floor, move them over, then work on the facade of that building as well as the retail up front on Tampa Road.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that?
Yeah, I didn't catch that at first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, our main goal is to remodel existing building, move our medical facility
Remodel
here.
internally.
Internally,
Okay.
yes, sir, yeah. And then move into that, right, so we start operating. Because I'm finishing my lease on the current medical building on August 1st. So I have to move on.
Right.
So I'm trying to reach that timeline. I have told my engineer that my lease is coming up on August 1st, but this he was not knowing, now he knows. I told him my lease is finishing up June 30th.
And these are questions that really don't have anything to do with anything
right.
tonight, but it is nice.
You're
to
the
know
applicant,
the time.
Right. And then after that, we move in, then we start building. So we build the front first, the retail center, and then we come the second.
So you can move them. Any other questions, Councilmember?
No, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
No, excellent. Looking
Thank you, sir.
forward to having you.
Councilmember
next
McGee?
week.
Huh? Good. Councilmember Beaverman?
No, then you don't have a problem with.
Yeah, he's already said that,
Our goal is to make it look nice, color whatever.
Well, and if you live here, you see what.
That's not a problem.
If you live here, you see the architecture of, Flamestone and Bay Arbor and Rumba, and so just the types of architecture.
Yeah, our goal is to make it look very nice.
Sure, yeah, you want it to be, yeah.
Okay, one last question, and then could you, I know you can't do it right now, but in the future, like tomorrow maybe, could you work with Marie about a timeline when you think that you're going to do the whole project?
I can tell you, sir, I will be very honest with you. Just to give an example, and this basically, I was just telling somebody. When I started the nail salon, right, means here, I haven't got the final CO yet. It took me 18 months to put it together, right? First of all, it takes a lot of time to get permitting, then the county inspectors to come. Then here, when I talk to my general contractor, right, I'm paying rent for 18 months. I was talking to my general contractor, what if I don't have the money? Then I will be out of business.
Yeah, right.
People start their business thinking that in 6 months they will start making money.
We hear it all the time.
18 months, right? So here, my goal, if you ask me, right, my job as the owner is to call them 10 times, I do that, right? Sometimes they don't pick up. But I have funds available. My banking side is 100% fine. I need those projects.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm the only one being the CEO because I have an office. We hire more provider, doctor, right? I give up my office. Right now, I'm the only one in the company who doesn't have office because we hire more providers. I've hired 2 more providers in last week. We don't have a space. So my wife was asking, where are they going to sit? So we're thinking to break the washroom in that office and convert that into office. We're such a big problem.
So I think
We
to
have
his
so much
question.
patience, so we need to complete this ASAP.
Okay, and to his question, and we're not holding you to this because obviously you got to go through permitting, but
We need to finish this
his
ASAP.
question is, when are we doing a ribbon cutting out there, is basically, when would it be done and
June
anticipated?
30th for remodeling building,
Yeah.
right? We are ribbon cutting before Valentine for the nail salon. I would like to invite anybody from city council, anybody. It's worth seeing. I have created such an architecture that people will drive just to come.
Are you going to furnish all of us a nice
No,
shovel?
a shovel. Oh, for groundbreaking?
Well, let me tell you,
Okay.
let me tell you,
Now,
real-
we want to complete it. No
Yeah.
delays from our side.
If I can reel this back in.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions? We're way off track.
I know we are.
And
One
Tom's
la-
jabbed me in the rib 3 times already.
Well, he used to kick me.
Wow, he likes me better than you.
A very short story. Oldsmar started building in 1918, and it took us 70 years before we finally grew up.
Right.
I don't think we're done growing yet, so to that question.
No, our goal is to finish it ASAP, sir.
Yeah.
This is our goal.
But it took us a long time to do anything.
Anybody else in?
No, but we need to open it
We're
up.
gonna make sure
I-
that
that's fine.
Change their mind.
we're gonna do the creative and vibrant and thriving project for you.
Thank you.
Perfect, we love it.
Mission statement.
If, any more questions of applicants? Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, we've had a lot of dialogue. So does anybody else from the public wish to address this item or the council, either for or against it? Yes, yeah. Okay,
Hold on a second.
You gotta be
Stand
sworn
up.
in.
Be sworn in. You swear the testimony you're about to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, if you could step over to the microphone so we can all hear you, state your name and address, please.
My name is Melissa Sontheimer, and I live at 175 2nd Street South in St. Petersburg, 33701, number 902. So I just, Mr. Beverland.
Gerald or Jerry?
Jerry. I just want to make sure you are, using your vision with the building that's not a 2-story. I don't even know why that was ever put out there. It's just a single story. It does have the facade to go with the Tampa Road plan to give it that look. But you have to kind of envision that in front of the big building in the back, which you'll still be able to see, and it's going to be much more beautiful than the site is right now.
oh, you think?
When he brought it to me, I was like, you want that? But anyways, we have been back and forth with Stephen and Maria and meetings, and pretty much it's all come down to what colors everybody likes and what kind of foliage people want to see out there. And Usman and Mr. have been so compliant that
Yeah, and
it's really just going to be great.
But the council.
this is your first time meeting Mr. Beaverland, isn't it? Yeah.
Council,
Make sure.
the council does not want to get involved, council, in colors.
That's Marie's job, right?
Yes, yeah, you should have seen the meeting to pick the carpet in here. Oh, it was a disaster.
So that is all I have to say.
That's
I
fine.
just want to make sure that.
Yeah, and I think similar is the plaza where, next to Thornton's, where the I Love Kickboxing, that kind of has that facade of it looks like 2, but it's 1 story because of the architecture, so, thank you. Who do you work for?
Remax.
Okay, I won't hold that against you.
Okay, Mayor, if staff has any additional presentation or summary, Marie, do you want to make a summary or present any additional information?
Thank you.
Okay, and then the applicant has one final shot at it.
Anything else that you would like to add? Applicant?
Happy to put this project together, and I'm proud president of it.
Awesome. Sounds great. It's got to be way better than what's there.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second, I believe, correct?
No, we do not.
Oh, motion? No, that's right, because we were doing public hearing. Motion?
Okay, I want to make sure that the motion is moving staff recommendation.
The motion is to move staff recommendation as presented.
Motion, second, motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item? I think we've had quite a bit already on this item and others. Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Saito?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Saraki?
Yes.
Councilmember Mickey?
Yes.
Councilmember Beveland?
Yes.
Mayor Beavis?
Aye.
Is Administrative Site Plan Amendment MA 17-09 is approved with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you.
Sounds great.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. We're excited about it. Thank you.
Ready to go?
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 15, this is a council request to waive fees associated with a special event known as the Honor Our Heroes Memorial Run to be held by the VIP Warriors, Inc. on May 26, 2018. The requesting organization is a legal not-for-profit entity recognized as such by the IRS. The VIP Warriors, Inc. is a veteran athletic organization that engages wounded veterans and their families in the participation of endurance sports. The 5K race will involve some temporary road closures on the morning of May 26, 2018, which is a Saturday. We have successfully hosted this event in the past with minimum disruptions to traffic. The request is for a waiver of city fees in the amount of $2,650. Felicia Donnelly, our Leisure Services Director and soon-to-be Assistant City Manager / Economic Development Director, is available to answer any questions about the event. Staff recommends approval.
And Dave, are you here and represent the applicant? Okay.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah.
So, motion to approve is presented.
Do I have a second? So motion in a second. Dave, if you could, for just a second, I was trying to explain to Al how this became about, because you started to do this, I guess maybe under the Wounded Warrior or whatever it was, and they tried to funnel all the money to the corporate or something like that. Is that correct?
Yes. Dave Tilkey, 505 Arlington Avenue East. Yes, the first year of this event was actually run through a national organization based in Virginia, and the local group was like a sub-chapter of them. And what we found out kind of a little too late into the whole thing was all of the funds raised here locally had to go to the national corporate headquarters, and then the funds were divvied out.
With no guarantee that any were coming back here.
No guarantee that any would come back locally, and in fact, we weren't seeing the return that we were hoping for. So the lady that's in charge formed the local organization, the VIP Warriors, Inc., and this way, all the funds are controlled locally by a nonprofit, all-volunteer board. There's no paid staff, and we know the funds are staying local.
And this is how many years, with the exception of the first year, how many years have you been doing?
This will be our third.
Okay.
This kind of follows on with the other Oldsmar race. It used to be the Tap House 5K, which brought 1,200 people to Main Street, to State Street on a Friday evening one year.
Yeah.
And we kind of lost the Tap House, and then we came up with this race. You know, local races are very important to the communities. On any given weekend, runners have their choice of multitude of running events. You almost have to make up your mind which ones you want to go to. There's just so many of them. But what you'll see as the races come and go, you'll see either the very small race that's not getting the community support, not getting the municipal support, nor are they getting the corporate local sponsorship dollars, and they just can't make it. Or you get the very large races
that squash everybody.
That, like the rock and roll marathons that come and go. They're a pure corporate run that has a bottom line, and if they don't hit their goals, they're moving on. You know, this is a local race, just like Armadillo is a local race, run by local race directors. When we go around and talk up this event, sometimes we have to remind them, you know, the race is in Oldsmar. And what we hear is people say is, oh, I love running in Oldsmar.
Yeah.
So, you know, there are only two races now, the Armadillo and ours. And, you know, we really appreciate the support given by the city. You know, the waiver of these fees is very critical to these smaller races without big budgets. And, you know, we'd love to keep bringing this race to the community year after year. And hopefully I'm not jumping forward, but I'd like to say thank you.
Yeah, and you can probably help me. I've been out there every year at the start, and before I twisted my knee a couple of weeks ago, my plan and my bucket list is to run one. So I don't know if it's going to be a combination of running or walking, but last year was a kind of a neat story, and I don't know the gentleman's name. I think he's paralyzed from the waist down. The big guy, it's as big as Al, what his name is or his story, but he was, if I remember correctly, roughly, he was coming up Park towards City Hall, and then they turn east down State Street to the finish line down near the Tap House. And we were wondering where he was, and this guy is just in a wheelchair, just moving it. And all of a sudden, here he comes around the corner, no wheelchair, two guys on either side of him. His wheelchair wheel had broken off, and two big guys had got on either side of him, and he could walk with some assistance, basically, them kind of moving his legs forward. And he came around that, I'm getting chills just thinking about it, but he came around that corner, and to watch him be damned and determined to make it to that finish line explains why these guys are warriors that they are. But that was a neat story, and there's probably a multitude of those. I don't remember his name, but he's there every year, so.
Andy's there every year. Andy's one of the people that benefit from the monies that are raised here. You know, those wheelchairs aren't just normal wheelchairs. They're racing wheelchairs. They're very expensive. We also have the hand crank bikes that some of these riders have to use that don't have any use of their legs, that are extremely expensive, tough to maintain. Yeah, that was Andy. When his wheelchair broke right out here on Park, you know, we sent a pickup truck out to get the wheelchair up in the back, and they were going to load Andy up in the back and say, let's go. And he says, no, I'm getting to the finish line. And it goes with, you know, anybody that's been in the military knows, you know, there's no brother left behind.
Yeah.
And you could search that on YouTube, and you could find him coming across the finish line.
It was great. And he has a traditional wheelchair, if you will, but they could have done that or done anything to get him, but he was bound and determined to get him across. So, you know.
Didn't you give us a shirt last year?
Yeah. I wear mine all the time.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't wear it all the time,
Well, I don't mean
but I
all, like
do
a-
wear it.
If I wear it, it means I actually have to go run. My wife's like, you're wearing that shirt this year.
See, I don't wear it in Oldsmar. I wear it in other cities, so they think I ran. I wear it in Dunedin a lot. No.
Of course, tonight's just a waiver of fees so that we can move forward with the the special event application is already in.
No problem. I just wanted to give a little bit of the history because I don't know that everybody knew.
How's this? I'll make the motion.
It's already been made.
Oh, yeah?
And I believe
Where was
it's
I?
yeah, if you want to endorse the motion that was made, yeah.
You can make
We
a
have motion in
third.
second, right?
You called the question, shut us all up.
Oh, I did shut you all up. Wow, that was a first. Okay, we'll take your motion then.
Thank you.
And we'll second it from down here. Motion and a second. Oh, you're right, I did call him up here. All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the history, I think
Thank
it's important. And you're right, the local events are important.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 16, this is a council request to approve the First Amendment to the interlocal agreement between Pinellas County and the City of Oldsmar affecting a term extension for the Advanced Traffic Management System, Intelligent Transportation System, and Roadway Transfer Agreement, which applies to the Traffic Signal Control Authority. This is a request for approval to the first extension of the original agreement, which applies to the county's assumption of operation and maintenance responsibilities for all traffic devices on any roadway which contains ATMS/ITS equipment. Exhibit A1 on page 109 of your packet graphically depicts the corridors where the system is in place countywide. City retains maintenance responsibility for all traffic control within city limits that are not on these corridors. The county bears all costs and expense for signals in any of the corridors. Dan Bennett, our Public Works Director, is available to answer any questions council may have regarding the interlocal. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. I need a motion.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on this?
Yeah, I have one. You know, this is more convoluted than what it just appears right here. What if we don't sign this, Tom?
Well, I imagine what we'd get into is a situation where we'd be responsible for the cost of it.
Okay, the cost of the lights, what cost would we have to?
Well, I guess we'd ask Nan to get up here and maybe explain what the costs would be associated with it if we don't go ahead and extend it. Because I don't know the answer to the question relative to the actual cost, so.
You know, I don't want to.
Public Works Director.
I don't want to bury us down another conversation. I'd just like to know if we don't sign this, there's no money involved unless we don't sign it. How in the world do we have to take over all these lights? I don't get that.
Through the agreement, there's a list of the various things that the county will take care of. The lights are one portion of that. Those are controlled electronically and timed with the cameras. I think the council took a trip over to the transportation center on US 19, just north of Drew Street. These are the lights.
But what if we don't sign it? What happens?
Well, then I guess they would no longer be part of the ITS system. They would no longer be electronically controlled. They would no longer be monitored. We would be responsible for the signals themselves and the maintenance and the signage, and it goes so far.
Could you verify that for us, or for me? I mean, I'll vote for this, but could you verify that if we don't sign this, we have to take over the maintenance of state lights and county lights.
I mean, I would venture to say Tom can answer if wrong, and I think Nan too, but I mean, if we don't sign it, we don't have an agreement for them to take care of them, so we would have to take care of them.
I don't, Tom?
We would have the responsibility to maintain traffic in our city. And so you're going to have to pay for the expense of it if it's not otherwise being paid for and maintained.
Do you have that as a fact?
Do I know whether or not you have a legal responsibility to maintain traffic control? I would say it's like any other service that you provide in the city, whether it's fire service or police, the sheriff's protection.
Even though they own them?
But the problem is that, you know, it's within our city, our jurisdictional limit. So yes, we're going to be responsible for it if someone else doesn't do it. Otherwise, you just have mayhem.
And I think to that point, and correct me if I'm wrong, to that point, you were part of this process. We had a police department, and we're responsible for providing, you know, police protection to our citizens. If we opt not to, which we did at one point, we had to, you know, hire the county to.
Oh, but that's not like traffic lights.
Well, yeah, you're responsible for being able to maintain traffic in your city.
Well,
You can't just turn all those lights off.
I'm going to vote for it. I would just like to know for a fact what the ramification is if we don't do this.
Why would we not want to?
Well, I think you're almost, you're saying it's how you feel about resolutions, that it's a piece of paper that even if we didn't sign it, that they would still maintain it? Is that what you're getting at?
They own it. We don't own it.
I think that's kind of like. where
Anyway,
it's
go
getting,
ahead.
is like-
I won't say anymore. I would just like to know for a fact.
I think there's a little clarification if you look at item 3.6 in the agreement, where they talk about the county's operation and maintenance responsibilities, and they begin to list the required traffic engineering studies to design, install, and maintain traffic signals, maintain all existing traffic signals, flashing school pedestrian warning signals, install and maintain traffic signs, design, maintain. They go on and on and on about what the maintenance elements are that the county is assuming. If the county wasn't assuming those, they would be ours.
Okay, I think, yeah, thank you. I don't know why we wouldn't sign, especially because it doesn't.
Motion to approve it?
Thank you.
You already made a motion.
It took a while.
Motion and a second. You were almost getting ready to add a whole nother department, Al, I think. And for clarification, I don't know how many of us went to that thing. It's interesting, I've been there several times, but the unfortunate part is, although the system is called an intelligent transportation system, we don't, from what I understand when we were there, we're not part of the true intelligent system, like for instance, the light at Curlew and McMullen Booth. It's part of the outdated, but.
Yeah, that's the count.
No, I know. My point is.
Are you saying we're not intelligent?
Our traffic lights in this city are not intelligent.
I mean, you are mayor, so I'm just
No, but because the question is, because a lot of those, and Nan knows way more about this than I do, but a lot of those in some of the main corridors, and they're still improving and adding them, that the TV cameras actually interact with the system itself.
I was there last week.
Yeah, they interact with the system itself and self-regulate the lights. That doesn't necessarily happen in Oldsmar. They're more set like you would set your timer for your light in your living room when you're on vacation. It comes on at 8, it goes off at 5, comes on at 8, it goes on the particular pattern, because if you'll ever notice, if you're there on a holiday that's a work day, like Monday, it's still operating as though it's a work day, even though there's not a car around. So they're slowly working up. Is that somewhat correct? I know they're working up a lot of the main corridors, the north, south, east, west ones, but anyway, because I asked that, I said, if this thing's so intelligent, how come I sit at these traffic lights where there's not a car in sight? So
They control the one at Pine Avenue and Tampa Road.
yeah,
Oh, that one.
that's on the corridor. But there's a difference between being on the intelligent system and then being able to watch and see traffic back up. And there's people that are there, one of my friends, that manually change it, but it's not part of the truly intelligent system. Anyway, that's way more than you need to know about traffic lights. We didn't need that traffic light.
Sorry I brought it up.
Apology accepted. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Last one?
Item 17, Mayor, request council approval for the annual purchase of 12.5% sodium hypochlorite from Odyssey Manufacturing Company utilizing the same terms and conditions offered by the Tampa Bay Water Contract number 2015-042, which is valid through December 2018. The unit cost will be $0.462 per gallon, which is 46.2 cents per gallon. And the total request is not to exceed $74,000 for fiscal year 17-18. This purchase is vital in importance to the running of the RO plant and the water reclamation facility. It is needed for disinfection prior to distribution to the potable water system and at the WRF for disinfection of the plant effluent prior to distribution to the reclaimed water system. Funding is currently in place in both the RO plant and water reclamation facility budgets, $20,000 and $54,000 respectively. Again, Ann Bennett, our Public Works Director, is available to answer any technical questions the council may have. Staff recommends approval.
Made a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion on this item?
Jerry, what if we just don't put?
I was just, God darn it, you stole that from me. I was gonna ask the dumb question. What if we don't do this? What
What do you mean
happens?
a dumb question? Are you, you're referring to mine was a dumb question?
Yeah, kinda, yeah.
I think it was a pretty intelligent question. I shouldn't have asked it. Because we didn't get any results from it.
Yeah, we did. We approved the agreement. Man, you stole my thunder on that. I was sitting here waiting to.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I was out of order.
All right. You'll keep getting water if we approve this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. Ann likes to hear you.
Yes.
5-0. Anything else? Wow, that was fast. City Clerk? You don't have anything? Okay. Council member comments. We'll start with Jerry Beaverland. Nope, we object to that. What happens if we don't go to Jerry Beaverland?
Well, let me tell you what doesn't happen. I gave you all one of my published books that I've been working on for the last 18 years.
Can you get that? You gonna have this at the library? I don't know if you can pick this up. Hold yours up then.
Jay.
Can you get that?
I got it.
Or get Gabby's, just so they can see it.
Thank you, Mayor. I
There you go.
appreciate that.
Here you are.
Thank you. It's, if you don't read it, that's fine. I totally understand.
No.
But this is something that I've wanted to do for a lot of years, and I'm a third way in my second book that probably never will be prose. But this was published by a subsidiary of Simon and
Schuster.
Simon and Schuster.
Simon and Schuster.
Simon, and I'm proud that God gave me enough time to finish it.
And I cannot believe I'm doing this, but can you give us a little bit of a history lesson on what the book is about?
Well, thank you. It's probably 95% fiction, 5% truth. It's of my, I'm of the McCrum family, it's total Scotch. There are no M-C, big C, R-U-M-B. There are no McCrums in Scotland anymore because they would not bow down to the English throne. And they were actually mercenaries. If you wanted to hire somebody to do your fighting, you hired a McCrum.
Well, that explains a lot.
But anyway, my great-grandfather and great-grandmother came from Scotland over here. And in and this is what the book covers 1 year from them leaving Pennsylvania to go to the beautiful Lost River Valley in Idaho. And it was 1870. My grandmother actually drove the chuck wagon from Kansas and met up with Indians in Colorado, the territory of Colorado. They had to bargain, and in the book I've got the Indian nation, but I'm not sure that that was the right nation. But they had to bargain their way out of that big group of Indians without being, this was in 1870. The next wagon train that came through was massacred. And they finally ended up the book takes them to Denver, where they have an incredible adventure in a hidden valley and Spanish treasure and gold abundancy. And my great-grandmother actually did die on the way, and that's Sarah's blessing. And they finally ended up in the valley, the Lost River Valley in Idaho, which where I grew up. And so that takes 1 year. My great-uncle James McCrum, along with my great-granddad, they volunteered for the 134th Pennsylvania Volunteers for the Civil War. And they actually fought in the second, now this is a true part, they actually fought in the second bloodiest battle of the Civil War, and that was Chancellorsville, because they had 150,000 Union troops. The rebels had 55,000, and the Union troops got massacred because it was such close fighting. And my great-grandfather actually did get wounded in that battle, but couldn't get to a doctor. Doctors couldn't help him because it was such a combined battle. And they only served 6 months. That's how long you served. And they were both mustered out after 6 months. And my great-grandfather died in Portland, Seattle, Washington, in the old folks' home, the old soldier folks' home. And the bullet was, the musket ball was still in him. But anyway, it takes that 1 year for them to leave Pennsylvania and make their way to the, and 2 of the girls get kidnapped by the Ute Indians. And it's an adventure I wish I could have had.
Well, those are always interesting because it takes you back in a time when none of us can even relate to, because if this was now, they could have gone to the virtual doctor that was here and diagnosed him and solved everything right there. So thank you for the book.
Thank you.
And again, I tell you, if you don't read it, that's fine. I totally understand. The reward of the book is that God gave me enough time to finish it.
And that's reward enough for me to read it. So, and I don't read, so might take me the rest of my, hopefully God will give me enough time to read it.
I hope so. I will pray for you.
Yeah, good.
And also, the Aberdeen fence is still down. I know you're all working on it. But if the council would give the city manager the authorization to send me over there.
No.
I guarantee you that damn fence would move.
Oh, yeah, if he goes over with a hammer, man.
Thank you for who you are.
Just real quick, I think you were going to go over there. What is this?
I didn't get to her.
Okay.
She wasn't there when I went over.
Okay.
But they have been cited.
Does the fine start kicking in at some point?
As they get before the code enforcement board.
Okay. I don't understand what the problem is. So anyway.
Corporate.
Oh, is it? Okay. Councilmember McGee?
Congrats on your book publishing.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I was telling Jerry earlier, I'm actually in the process of writing a book, and so it's quite inspiring to see that you wrote one and published one. I will definitely read it. I look forward to that. I also wanted to just make a comment about Susan's comment earlier, that I was fortunate enough when a new home was built next to me, and it was quite large and quite scary when it was being built, that I knew the developer. You know, he was actually a quite nice gentleman that does a lot here in the city, and without even kind of saying anything to me, he only built one window on my side of the house, which was as a favor to me to not have, you know, a bunch of windows where he knew was my bedroom. And so it was funny, I was talking to the new homeowners, and they were like, we were wondering why there was only one window on that side of the house and not in any of the other rooms over there. But not everyone's that fortunate to have, you know, the developer actually, you know, be considerate of the neighbors. So definitely appreciate you bringing that concern to our attention. And then lastly, I just wanted to congratulate Marie on her award. That's well deserved. And also to Felicia. Very excited to have you start that new position. And that's all I have.
To piggyback on this, my house is built up high. My neighbor's built up higher. I have 3 windows. I walk out on my side of my, I got people looking out 3 windows down on me. And I understand.
No, they're not looking down at you. Just clarification, probably. It's funny you say that, because I don't think I have any windows on the side of the house with the exception of my bathroom. I wonder if that's why, so. I think you have to in a bathroom. Councilmember Seidel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a couple of things. Congratulations, Felicia. Well-deserved. Excited about you taking on that role. Congratulations, Jerry, on the book, and I appreciate the gift.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And I will read it, actually. Won't take me that long. Amber will read it to
And
me.
you all,
I was going to say.
well, you all can what's that word say?
Criticize? Critique?
Critique.
Oh, you want us to get in there with highlighters and
Wants to be critical.
grammar?
Well, he already told me half the story, so I'm.
Celebrate Oldsmar, and I don't know that. Now I'll skip over that. I don't really, I'll find that out afterwards. I did want to mention Oldsmar Day is coming up, as you all know. I don't know if you got the email from the chamber. And of course, we've started this tradition of manning a booth. Just looking to see if everyone's in. I know Jerry's there with us in spirit. Yes?
What's the day that you want to booth, man? Did you?
We cannot commit to a day yet, but I mean, I'm fine. I mean, is that
Sunday.
I think they moved us to Saturdays.
Oh, is this a Sandy contrived one? that she-
During the day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can help.
I will try to
I'm
make
here.
it this year.
So he can do a
I'm
pyramid,
not going to Moffett anymore, because I told him.
You come, we're doing a pyramid.
doing a council pyramid.
We will not do a pyramid if you come. Because I know how much you like that. All right, I just wanted to get kind of a quick check. Hey, I wanted to comment, Leadership Pinellas 2018 class, I'm fortunate enough to be part of it. And Oldsmar has really been kind of featured in this class. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Leadership Pinellas, it's a group of individuals from across the county, business people, community activists, some politicians. And you spend 10 months going to different places throughout the county, learning about some of the things going on in Pinellas. It's an excellent opportunity to kind of peel back some points of interest within other cities as well. And so this past week, and it was Dan's group, right? Because it was Government Day, right? And so we had the opportunity. I want to thank staff, the clerk's office who worked on changing this room around. So it's the first time I had ever seen there been lunch tables in here. It actually worked out pretty well, I thought. And, we had them out to empower adventures, where Joe and the gang out there entertained us, and had some people going out on the zip lines and some doing the ropes, and everybody's enjoyed the visit. And then we went to the RO plant on this trip, which was a great opportunity to showcase the city once again. We've had them out to BMX out here. I'm almost starting to get a little embarrassed sometimes. It's like, so anybody else got anything going on? Of course not. But I just wanted to make a point of thanking everyone in the city who spent the time to host and do tours. And so it's greatly appreciated. And my fellow classmates truly do appreciate it. Great job on the minutes. I'm not surprised.
She is.
Let's skip over that. I did have a comment on the recent request we sent out for proposals on the development of downtown. And I mentioned this to Al earlier. I know that the document says that the staff will make the recommendations as to who presents, or the decision actually on who presents. And so I think that's the appropriate way to go, so we're not trying to spend the time going through all of the proposals we received, assuming we have a successful bid process. But I did suggest, and I would like to hear council's thoughts on it, I still think it's a smart idea for transparency purposes that we actually receive all of the bids. We receive a copy of all the bids. We'd still let the staff go do their due diligence and make that decision. But I would like us to see all the bids that come in. I don't know
I
if anybody
agree.
has any
I
objection.
agree.
Nope.
Okay with that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with that. I don't know that it's going to be like the city manager deal where we're going to get 90 of them, but I think there's going to be a handful, and I'd like to see kind of what the differences are, and are they, are they glaring? Are there some ideas? Are there, I think that's a good idea. Dan?
Al and I talked about it earlier, and his opinion was it really probably wouldn't matter to do that. There's no conflict within the document we sent out. All right, well, then I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I like it.
I also wanted to give props because we've been pretty critical of him at times, and that is to Representative Grant.
I'm going to tell you right now, I am really backed off.
Have you?
Yep, I backed off.
And I'll tell you why.
Totally,
I mean,
totally.
He is working for us in a difficult situation where we don't have a senator representing us in Tallahassee right now, as everyone knows. But he's attempted to try to help us in appropriations. I don't know that he's going to be able to. It's kind of difficult when you don't have someone on the other side.
It's a heavy lift.
It's a heavy lift. But I will say this. I asked him, when Al and I met with him, to keep us updated on what's going on. Now, it's our responsibility to read what's going on as well, but here's the problem with what we get from the Florida League of Cities, and that is it's educational and it's helpful. However, it's everything, whether it has a chance or not to make it out of committee, more or less become ultimately a law, right? So I had asked him to only update me on, reach out on things that they thought might affect us as a city, specifically in the area of home rule, and that he thought might actually make it, that had some legs. And I'm telling you, he's texting me about every night about different things that are going on. And he has shown the willingness to try to insert language into certain bills to mitigate some of the things that might happen. And so I just wanted to make a point of mentioning that because I feel like I was pretty critical of him at one point too. If you read through all some of the bills, like the CRA bill, right? To me, the only meaningful change in that bill is that instead of the city and the county approving it, let's say if it was a new CRA, Tallahassee does it by a special act, which is pretty much how they treat all special taxing districts. So the rest of it, to me, is just more reporting and more transparency, which frankly is not that big of a deal for us. But I did want to make a point of mentioning that and speak him up a little because he is up there working for us.
I want to commend you for what you are doing and tell him that you are successful. You have been successful. You have shut me up.
Wow. I'll text him.
I'm going to send him the clip from YouTube on
Can we
that.
isolate that?
The last thing I just have on here is how exciting is it to have the New York Red Bulls coming and training here in Oldsmar? Huh? I'll tell you, the mayor worked hard on that, the city manager worked hard on that, Alicia worked hard on that. There's a lot of people who really have worked hard on it. Our staff is working very hard on it. And this is one of those things that it's not only great for Oldsmar, but it's great for our kids.
That's big.
And they're going to be putting on camps with them that they would never have that kind of exposure. And so it's so exciting, and so good things coming. They continue to come.
Well, it showcases for the county too.
Yep, absolutely. And I should say also, campus St. Pete Clearwater.
Visit St. Pete Clearwater.
Visit St. Pete. Anyhow, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to piggyback of what Eric just said, James Grant has been texting me also, and he's been fantastic. Last night at 10 o'clock, we were texting each other about the CRA House Bill 17 and the Senate Bill 432, and he emailed everything over to me today, and I met with Al, and we talked about it a little bit, and I sent him a bunch of questions back about the two bills that I'm waiting for him to get back with me, And then I would like to report to the board, to you guys, just so you can see what's going on with that. And I know Eric's working with him too on some other issues and some other bills.
Travel bill and that kind of stuff, which he
Right.
now thinks it's not going to
But, and I know we had some difficulty with him, and I know when Eric met with Al together, he came to my office, and I was very clear with him that I wanted him to keep me updated, as Eric mentioned. And he has done a fantastic job in the last 2 days with keep me updated. And as Eric said, he is willing to change the language for us, for our city.
He's willing to try to change.
Right, yeah, try.
But he's working for us.
Yeah, but I just wanted to back.
Well, and to that point, I think that was the message that was sent here when he came before us, was that, the CRA and the transparency and all that, the reason that has become an issue is because there are municipalities that are not being transparent, whether it's the CRA or it's the tourism dollars. And I think we made the point, and I think Eric made it, is, that's fine, then go after them. And I think you said to him, we're not Miami-Dade, you don't represent them, but you represent us. And I think he heard the message, and I'll reach out to him, because I was pretty critical and harsh of him via some text one night.
Well, don't get too gushy.
No.
Wait a minute, until we see what he does accomplish.
But he's trying, he's not just blowing smoke.
Well, the key, another thing that Eric mentioned that I want to just touch on is being a representative for the Suncoast League of Cities and the Florida League of Cities. I really noticed that the bills that he emailed me, after reading them, they are more clear than what the Florida League is telling us as far as what is going to happen.
The Florida League is going to tell you exactly what they want you to know, what they want you to know.
What's best for them.
Right.
Yes.
And that was a big eye opener for me today to read those bills and see the difference between the two.
The staff analysis.
Right, the staff analysis, thank you. So that was very educational for me, and this is this is a learning thing for me, and I'm learning every day, and I enjoy it. Friday is our Suncoast League of Cities. Eric, I believe you're coming, Al's coming, Doug, are you coming? Jerry, can you come Friday to lunch right here? Suncoast League of Cities?
Pardon me?
30, I think.
11:30, this Friday.
We're hosting the meeting, and they all want to see you.
Do you really want me to come?
Yes, I want you to come.
Dan's only coming for the food anyway.
No.
He's only, that's why there is food.
Will somebody call and remind me?
Sure. All right, thank you. But that's going to be this Friday right here. And as Eric mentioned, last week, Wednesday, we had the Leadership Pinellas class here. My team, the team that we built from last year's class and other classes, was for Government Day, and the class was here, and I thought it went really well. I think the whole day was, and I appreciate Eric getting up and speaking. Thank you so much.
Because the mayor was late.
Because you were late. You took
They
the
have
spot.
very, very tight timetables on everything. It's
I know.
like,
And then thank you for showing
3 minutes
up.
late, we have to leave, It's
Eric texted me, I said, well, you didn't even ask me till the day before, and I'm like, I got a meeting at this. He goes, you can have from 11:50 to 12:03. I said, you can have me from when I get there to when I got to leave. So,
Well, I appreciate you
I
coming.
was next door, and then I had a meeting to go to.
Yeah, that worked out.
It worked out
great.
fine.
And then again, like Eric's mentioned, Ann, thanks for setting up all the tables and doing all that work. And it actually was a very successful meeting, and I appreciate the city staff setting that up. And then the other thing I want to bring up is congratulations to Maria. I didn't realize after
Yeah,
being here
Maria.
30 years, you won this council award. Gabby, thank you for doing that. And congratulations to Felicia. Great weekend at BMX. It was incredible. Thank you for all your hard work and your team. And the last thing is July 3rd meeting. I'd like to talk about that next council meeting so that we could cancel it like we did last year, because the city employees really appreciated it. I know we did too. City staff appreciated it. It's a holiday week that people like to plan vacations with their families, and it's a city thing, and I wanted to bring that up. If we can discuss that at the next council meeting to
What are we discussing?
cancel the July 3rd.
Can we reschedule it, maybe? Because I don't know what's going to be on the
July 3rd
agenda.
meeting?
I'd like to reschedule. That'd be better for me.
I don't like, we already do the one in December. I don't like, can we maybe, is that all right? Maybe revisit,
Reschedule, that's fine.
reschedule for,
To December.
oh, we'll move it to the second week in December. How about that, Dan? The third week in December. I don't know, I just don't like, we've got a lot of moving parts going on.
Or we schedule, I like that idea.
We could look at dates.
Because the 4th is on Wednesday. That means we'd have a city council meeting on Tuesday, and then we'd have the 4th.
Yeah.
What date was that?
And
The July 3rd, the first meeting in July. We'll look at maybe rescheduling the date.
remember,
It's not right next to the
last year,
We'll look at some dates. I think that's a consensus. And
all right, and the last thing, Jerry, thank you for the book. That's all I have, Mayor.
thank you. What do I have? Thank you, Jerry, for the book. Congratulations to Felicia and Marie. We're excited about it. I think, as you said or mentioned, still don't think we're done growing up. So I hope we don't ever completely grow up. I will definitely reach out to Jamie Grant and send him a text just thanking him for keeping us informed, you guys informed. I saw him at the Safety Harbor Parade, and I don't know if he was crazy about seeing me, but at any rate, so I will text him, and I appreciate it, but I think it paid, I think it worked. I mean, I think we got our message across, so.
Well, he knows where we are anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough, and, because we're such a small part of his district anyway, but I think he's picked it up, but it's gonna be hard on the Senate side to find somebody that's gonna wanna carry Jack's water, on.
He did say Brandis was being actively
I'm gonna set up a meeting with
helpful.
Brandis to see if he'll help us as well, so. At any rate, also, yeah, the New York Red Bulls, thanks to the city staff, they're incredible. I was out there yesterday, Eric popped out there yesterday, and, the fields look phenomenal, I mean, watching them mow makes my yard look awful. I look at that thing, so, but.
The mayor was helping with laying sod, but it was all dirt on top.
I didn't know, yeah.
Green on top.
Green side up, so, but, and they are coming to town, January 22nd to February 3rd. And for the most part, it's gonna be, closed just because they are on a very tight schedule to get up to speed and get running. There is gonna be some kind of a thing, I don't know that the date's been finalized for, like meeting with the council members and some type of not necessarily a formal clinic, but for the kids to interact with them, which to me, that's the big takeaway from this. I mean, they're able to, to interact with, the New York Red Bulls. I mean, I was telling somebody the other day, I mean, Philadelphia is called the Philadelphia Union. I don't really know what that is. The DC United, you don't really know what, but I think pretty much everybody, it's the largest beverage distributor in the world that I think everybody, except for maybe Eric, doesn't know what Red Bull is, I don't think. So.
I'm not drinking Red Bull tonight.
But it's terrible for you.
Yeah.
For the soccer team, though.
Yeah.
I have some in there.
So at any rate, so let me see if I have anything else. It was the library's 10th year, and I meant to do this earlier. How many hours has the library been open since it started over there, the 10 years? Anybody? 30,000 hours?
Wow.
How many people have walked through the doors? We got to add a couple more because we all walk. Huh?
Not you, since you don't read.
Yeah.
How many?
How many have walked through the door? 1.2 million.
All right, I doubled it when I guessed earlier.
How many items have been checked out of the library? 1.5 million. How many items loaned to other libraries? This is astounding sometimes to me. 350,000 items. How many questions were answered? 260,001, because I asked one tonight when I was in there. I asked if they had this, and they did, so they're going to modify this to 260,001. Hours of volunteer work, which this is a really big number, and we say this all the time about volunteers in the city of Oldsmar for everything that we got. And this one, I think, is mine, 12,901 hours, so at any rate. So that's all I have, but congratulations to them. And I know you were talking earlier tonight that there was some pushback back in the day when that was, and I don't want to get into another history lesson because Eric and I already know how the story ends because we heard it earlier today. But I think at the end of the day, those that pushed back found that it was a great idea, which, it can happen.
And so are we going to get the CRA workshop on the next agenda to talk about a date?
I'll have it on the agenda with some dates.
Thank you.
And that's it.